Welcome back to the world according to Briggs, and today we're doing another compilation video. I've done a couple of these, scariest places, most dangerous places, best small towns, where we just take some of our videos from the same subject and put them all together. It helps people that are watching things on TV. They don't want to watch 15-minute videos. They want to watch longer videos. This one is long, and this one is about videos that we did on retirement. Everything from other countries, small towns to retire, places outside of Florida and Arizona to retire. This should be a good one. This first one we did a couple years ago, it's titled States Retirees Are Leaving. Let's take a look. Today we're talking about retirees who've decided to pack up and move to a new state in pursuit of that perfect retirement. Whether it's a change of scenery, a more affordable cost of living, the opportunity to be closer to loved ones, or one of the countless other reasons retirees choose to put their home state in the rearview mirror. Millions of Americans retire every single year, and depending on what study you look at, the rate that do that in another state sits somewhere around 12 to 16%. Different studies take different things into consideration, but that's the national average. In today's video, we're looking at the states that had the 10 highest percentage of retirees that actually did that. I think what's amazing about this is everyone just assumes when people retire, they head to Florida or Arizona. That's not the case. I'm going to show you what percentage left and the two states that they most often move to. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 10, Massachusetts. If you've ever visited or lived in the Bay State, you probably think they should be higher on this list on cost of living alone. This place is brutal on the bank account. Boston especially. You could be a junior associate at a law firm and still have to sell pictures of your feet to pay rent. 12.7% of Massachusetts retirees decided to leave the state. Where are they going? Florida and South Carolina. Pennsylvania as a destination was almost equal to South Carolina. Number 9, Nevada. I always thought Nevada was one of those places you retire to, especially if you like playing high-stakes bingo. They have that in Vegas, at least they did years ago. I saw a sign for it, high-stakes bingo. Those words just don't go together, high stakes and bingo, but I guess they have it. Could you imagine if you were addicted to high-stakes bingo and how humiliating it would be if you ran afoul and got in debt with the wrong people over your high-stakes bingo addiction? They send some guys over to your condo to rough you up. They pull the TV guide out of your hand, hit you over the head with it, then stomp on your reading glasses. The weather isn't really a factor as much in Nevada as it is in a lot of other states because if you're not older, you don't understand this. Cold weather is not an old person's friend. I'm over 50 and I have a lot of injuries from the military. And I'll tell you what, they hurt more in cold weather. And it just gets worse with age. I used to wake up every morning, get a cup of coffee and read what was happening in sports or whatever, just cruise the internet. These days I get my coffee and I sit on the floor in my office on this yoga mat I have and try and stretch out for 20 minutes just so I can have a normal day. But 14.2% of Nevada's retirees leave Nevada. They don't go too far. For the most part, Arizona and Texas. Number 8, Iowa. This one kind of surprises me because Iowa's a pretty cheap place to live. Their cost of living compared to most other states is pretty low, and that's normally the biggest driver for someone to leave their state as they want a lower cost of living. I guess Iowa's so boring, no price is going to keep someone there. For a lot of people, Iowa was probably a great place to raise a family and build a career. But as people that have been there for a very long time get closer to that retirement age, they start looking for a little excitement, a little adventure, something Iowa has very little of. I mean, unless you're into gardening and fishing, by all means, stay in Iowa. 14.7% of Iowa's retirees are leaving Iowa. Where are they going? Florida and North Carolina. Oddly enough, that's North Carolina's only appearance on this list. Number 7, New Jersey. This one surprises me in a lot of different ways. Number 1, why aren't they closer to 90% of the retirees leaving the state? Number 2, is this state's had so many super fun sites over the years, I'm surprised many people make it to retirement. There's been so many toxic waste dumps and contaminated water situations in New Jersey. I'm surprised New Jersey doesn't have a bunch of people that have a third and fourth eye on the back of their head or something. 15% of New Jersey's retirees jump the border into Pennsylvania and head down to South Carolina. Number 6, West Virginia. Yes, people leave West Virginia. that aren't looking for a job. That's the biggest thing for people that leave West Virginia. They're looking for work. It's so affordable, and it's a beautiful state. It's got a bunch of problems, and I get it. It's a beautiful state, low cost of living. You'd think retirees would stay there because a lot of times when you're on a fixed income in retirement, you're looking for as cheap as you can get. It's hard to get much cheaper than West Virginia. But I guess that cold weather scares them out. It gets pretty cold there. 15.3% of West Virginia's retirees spend their retirement in some other state. The two top states for that are South Carolina and Tennessee. Number 5, Maine. Now this one's kind of strange. In the last handful of years, Maine's become kind of popular with retirees from other states moving to Maine. But the ones from Maine, they're not sticking around as much as you'd think. And a lot of that has to do with cold and the cost of living. Cost of living's not crazy downtown San Francisco or Boston expensive, but it's up there a little bit. The cold weather, I think, is what really chases a lot of retirees out of Maine, though. 15.6% of Maine's retirees retire in another state. The two top states for that would be Florida and Tennessee. Tennessee's showing up on this quite often. I'm a little surprised. Number 4, Virginia. Yes, the other Virginia, the original Virginia. As a guy once told me, the only Virginia that matters. A lot of the people that leave the state of Virginia in retirement are coming from the northeast section right across from D.C., where all those government employees live. Arlington, Alexandria, Fairfax, Manassas, those places are pretty expensive. And once you've worked for the government long enough, you probably want to get as far away from it as you can in retirement. And then spend the next 20 or 30 years trying to forget you ever worked for the United States government. But yeah, it's going to be the cost, and Virginia does get some bad winters. Not Minnesota or Detroit bad, but it gets pretty cold. 16% of Virginia's retirees retire in another state. And where are they going? Florida and Arizona. I guess that cold weather is really getting to them there. If you're heading out to Arizona. Number 3, Utah. I would have thought Utah's one of those states you retire to, but it really doesn't seem like it. I mean, I kind of always had St. George, Utah on my list, my top 10 list of places I would retire. St. George is not bad. Great place to retire. Not too far from the Nevada border, so you can hit the casinos there. They're not the best casinos near there, but they're still casinos. So decent weather and casinos, and people are still flooding out of St. George like they're bringing back mandatory prairie bonnets. 19% of Utah's retirees choose another state. The two main states they choose, Arizona and Texas. So they don't go too far away. Number 2, Maryland. If you knew much about parts of Maryland, like Baltimore, you'd understand why people flood out of there. Baltimore, I read things and I see things, and the crime is just horrible, and I get it and I understand. But a lot of tech companies have been moving there over the last 5 or 6 years. I thought they'd have a little tech boom by now. I still think it's coming in the future, but I think Baltimore is going to be a different city 10 years from now that, totally different from the Baltimore we know right now. But it doesn't matter what's going on in Baltimore or the rest of that state. Almost a quarter of their retirees are leaving the state. 21.7% of Maryland's retirees choose a different state. Their two main states they choose, Florida and Tennessee. Like I said, Tennessee is showing up here a lot, more than I would have expected. All right, before we get to number 1, I want to invite you to subscribe to the channel if you already haven't. We're almost at 1 million, and I'd really like to make that happen before the summer. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, Delaware. There are some nice parts of Delaware. The only place that really gets any of the news or attention is going to be Wilmington, and Wilmington ain't great. I've heard Wilmington, Delaware referred to as Detroit South. How bad does that suck? Every time I do anything on Wilmington, I think of this guy that just used to email me all the time and threaten me and tell me not to come to Wilmington. I haven't heard from him in about a year, and I started wondering, does he do this with other people, and did someone finally call him on it and show up? Like that old saying, F around and find out? Maybe he found out. Delaware does have a pretty high cost of living, and they do get some pretty brutal winters. I like their summers. Their summers are nice. But yeah, their winters can get pretty cold. The occasional snowstorm, blizzard, whatever, but they just have months where it's like bone-chilling cold. That wind coming off the water sometimes just, oh my God. But 22.5% of Delaware's retirees do it out of state. Where are they going? Pennsylvania and Tennessee. That just cracks me up about Tennessee. I would have never really thought about retiring to Tennessee. There's probably 30 other states before Tennessee I would retire to. All right. Our next one was done way back in 2024. If you don't get the joke, it's 2025 right now. This one was done in March of last year, and it's called Cheapest States to Retire in 2024. Let's take a look. In today's video, we're going to take a look at what states are the cheapest states for retirement here in 2023 and what you might be missing out on or have to deal with if you're living that retirement on the cheap. Retirement might mean you've stopped working, but no matter what, you're not done paying. Retirement costs money. After I did a couple videos on retirement in the last few months, I started getting requests for videos about the cheapest states for retirement. We did a series of videos like this back in 2020, and I figured since so much has changed, we need to take another look. Today, we're looking at what states are considered the most affordable for retirees. As we've all learned in past videos, if it's cheap, it's going to come with some negatives. I'll point out the negatives and what you might want to know or be aware of before you move to these states. Now, one thing I'm not going to do is bog the video down with a whole bunch of numbers and stuff like that. All these states get on this list because they have tax breaks and exemptions and low cost of living. When you look at the taxes and exemptions, those numbers change all the time, but normally they stay there in one form or another. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 10, Mississippi. That's right, the Magnolia State starts off our list at number 10. As we all know, Mississippi is dirt cheap. Their cost of living is so low, it's embarrassing. They're like the 99-cent store of states, with humidity and mosquitoes. Rent and home prices are normally well below the national average in just about every corner of the state. They also have an exemption for pension income and reasonable weather. Their winters don't get terribly cold. Their summers can get hot and humid. It's just like Florida with fewer beaches and fewer teeth. Now, there are some problems with living in Mississippi. First of all, you don't want to live in Jackson. Jackson is the state capital, and it is by far the worst state capital in the Union. On top of that, WH ranks them as the 48th worst when it comes to senior health care. So that means there's only 2 other states that have worse health care than Mississippi. Number 9, Florida. We all know all retirees want to head to Florida at some point. Beaches, sunshine, things to do, coax your grandkids back east for a trip to Disney World. Things you always got to remember about living in Florida: they do get hurricanes. And mullets. Mullets are not required for men in Florida, but they are encouraged. Florida has no state income tax, so whatever you got coming in, don't worry about it getting taxed, at least from the state. Florida ranks 9th for retirees in affordability, but they're actually 15th for everyone else, which for a major state, that's pretty good. I mean, they've got major metro areas: Jacksonville, Orlando, Tampa, Miami, and Mobile. One of the downsides is you got to worry about hurricanes. And their healthcare isn't the greatest. They're actually ranked 28th for seniors. And by the way, Mobile is in Alabama, not Florida. Don't delete your message. Leave it there. Let me see it. Number 8, Arkansas. Arkansas is not a state most people would move to. Said it many times before, the northwest corner of that state is a lot different from the rest of the state. The rest of the state is backwards as f***. And when I say backwards, I mean backwards. In 1879, in Menlo Park, New Jersey, Edison built the first high-resistant incandescent electric light bulb. At the same time, Arkansas was excited about this new thing they had called the wheel, and they were just getting used to fire. But it is affordable to this day. Not as affordable as Mississippi. Let's just say they're the Walmart of states. Arkansas does give a credit for portions of pensions. Housing through most of the state is very affordable, normally about 20 to 30% below the national average. But the problem is a lot of the areas in this state have a lot of crime. 2 prime examples are Little Rock and Pine Bluff. They always show up on the most dangerous lists. On top of that, they don't have the best healthcare. They're actually ranked 44th in the nation. But it's cheap, it's beautiful, and the winters aren't terrible. When I say terrible, they're not like Minnesota, North Dakota weather. They're, get cold, but not terrible. Number 7, the Peach State, Georgia. Georgia is a great place to live. Every handful of years, it seems like Georgia becomes one of the hot spots to move to. And why not? Georgia's a pretty cool state. Affordability is just one thing that makes Georgia a great place to retire. They got decent weather, beautiful beaches, amazing cities like Savannah and Atlanta, and good people. My only problem with Georgia is that humidity in the summer. Oh my God. I've had to deal with that a few times in my life and I wasn't really into it. Another bright spot for Georgia is they don't
tax Social Security. Myself, I don't think anyone should tax your Social Security, but they do in a lot of different states. Georgia ain't one of them. Probably the biggest bummer about being a retiree in Georgia is the health care. For seniors, they're ranked 42nd in the nation. Number 6, Delaware. Now, Delaware's a little strange because it doesn't have an incredibly low cost of living. It's probably one of the higher ones on this list, but they do have a bunch of tax breaks and credits for seniors and retirees. It is considered one of the most tax-friendly states. It has no sales tax, no state inheritance tax, no tax on Social Security income, and an exclusion for part of retirement income. Basically, there's an opportunity to save a lot of money being retired in Delaware. You probably want to have a good tax man, though, or at least a competent one. Sure, Delaware's up there on the East Coast. It's going to get cold in this area during the winter, so you always have to consider that. It's not as pleasant as some of the southern states, but their healthcare is not terrible. It's actually ranked 18th for seniors. Number 5, Wyoming. Wyoming is becoming more and more popular with the retirees, especially the type that like to be outdoors. Wyoming is wide open with plenty of things to do. They have a few problems. They don't have a bunch of surface water, so you always got to worry about drought, but they're pretty cheap. Not Mississippi, West Virginia cheap, but they're cheap. Better than Colorado, California, Washington, and maybe Idaho. So they're fairly cheap, and they have no state income tax. That means your Social Security, all that good stuff, is free from state taxes. The negatives are the weather can get a little crazy and a little cold, and their healthcare ranks 38th in the nation. Number 4, South Carolina. South Carolina is becoming more and more popular with the retirees. I've mentioned this before, but a lot of them go to Florida and they don't like it, and then they move back towards like New York a little bit, and then they kind of get to South Carolina and realize they like it there a little bit better. They call them halfbacks, meaning they went halfway home. And yes, South Carolina is not halfway between Florida and New York City. We get it. Don't need any more emails about that. It's just a phrase. Now, South Carolina has a pretty low cost of living. Sure, if you get in Charleston area or Hilton Head, maybe even Myrtle Beach, it gets a little pricey. But most of this state is affordable, both in housing and everyday cost of living stuff. When it comes to taxes, they do pretty good here. Now, it's not just tax-free like a lot of other states, but they have a lot of exemptions and they provide credits for portions of pensions and retirements. South Carolina is a pretty good state. The closer you can get to the ocean, obviously it's going to get better, but it's a pretty nice state. The bummer is they do get hurricanes, and their healthcare is ranked 39th in the nation for seniors. Number 3, West Virginia. West Virginia could get on this list on price alone. They are right up there with Mississippi when it comes to cost of living. They got a whole truckload of issues they're working on, but there's a few things you can't deny about West Virginia. Cheap housing, a low cost of living, and natural beauty that puts the state up there, I would say, in the top 5 in the country. If you like fishing, hiking, anything like that, West Virginia is a solid choice for any retiree, for anyone really. They have a ton of senior care facilities too. If you are a retiree, they have one of the highest rates of people over the age of 65 in the country. It's 21%. That's the 3rd highest in the nation. So there's a couple different studies that rank healthcare, and West Virginia is the only one that was really different on both of the studies I looked at. One ranks them 18th in the nation, and the other one ranks them as 49th. So I don't know who to believe at this point. Give you an example, some of the other ones. Mississippi on one had Mississippi at 48, but on another one had them at 46. So fairly close. One had Florida at 28, one had Florida at 31. Again, fairly close. This one's way off, so I'm really not sure which one to go by, but they're ranked 49th. They get some pretty bad winter, so keep that in mind. Spring and summer is beautiful in West Virginia. I mean, obviously winter has its own type of beauty, but to get out and do things, spring and summer are amazing here. The good news is they're the 3rd most affordable state. Now, there's a little side note to West Virginia. If you have a really good paying retirement or pension, West Virginia might not be the best option, because after $60,000 per individual, they start taxing you pretty good on your retirement. So keep that in mind. But the cost of living here is amazingly low, and so is housing, so they get on the list. Number 2, Tennessee. Yes, the great state of Tennessee, the volunteer state. They've become more and more popular in the last few years. I mean, they always kind of have been, but they've been picking up steam. Used to be only people went to rural towns and Nashville. Chattanooga and Knoxville are starting to get popular, so that's a plus. People that don't make good decisions move to Memphis. Tennessee has something for everyone, even poor decision makers. Even though it's popular, Tennessee is still relatively affordable. Sure, it's no Mississippi or West Virginia, but it's also no California, New York, or Oregon. They have all kinds of different credits and taxes, but they also have no state income tax in Tennessee. Yeah, they're one of those states. Now, when you look at all the different programs they have for seniors and retirees, Tennessee is one of the top 10 every single time we look at that. So it's a great place to retire and grow old. Sadly, they do have Memphis, which has a ton of crime like I've been talking about. They can get some pretty bad winter weather. Still, not as bad as like North Dakota, Minnesota, stuff like that. It can get cold. Their summers, spring, and autumn are amazing. You just got worried about the quality of healthcare they got there. They're actually ranked 45th. Saw another study where they're ranked 40th. And number 1, Alabama. Yep, Alabama, another southern state, is our number 1 state for cheap retirement. Their cost of living and their housing is just a little more expensive than West Virginia, Mississippi, but they have a lot more exemptions and tax breaks for retirees. So in the end, they're cheaper than both of them, which I know is hard to believe. Alabama, in most cases, is a better state. They got a lot of friendly people there that love to have a party, especially if some college football's on. The downside is it gets pretty hot during the summer, and their healthcare is ranked 41st in the nation. Not good.
All right, this next one is one of my personal favorites because I'm Gen X, but it's the states that Gen Xers will retire. And this is because the older generations really chose Arizona and Florida. Well, Gen Xers are coming around and they're getting into retirement right about now, and they're choosing other places to retire, not just Florida and Arizona. Let's take a look.
What state are Generation Xers planning on retiring to? That's a survey we ran, and we simply asked that question. Generation X is getting closer to retirement. The age range for Gen X is 43 to 58 here in 2023. If you were born between 1965 and 1980, you are part of the MTV generation, and you're getting closer to collecting that retirement check. As we've learned in past videos, a good number of retirees flee their home state in retirement for a number of reasons. Cost of living, family, weather. You met an Eastern European woman online that you've been sending money to, and she's always wanted to live in Miami, and real estate prices. There are many reasons and many places Gen Xers are thinking about for retirement. We did a survey that received over 5,000 responses where we simply asked Generation X, if you retire in the United States, what state do you plan on doing it in? In this video, I'm going to give you the results of the survey and what places each of these states has the highest percentage of retirees. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 15, Delaware. Yep, we're doing 15 today because a lot of times when I just do 10, people always want to know what 11 and 12 were and stuff like that. So I figure on one like this, we'll just do 15 and call it good. Delaware is a small state that is very enticing with its low taxes, affordable cost of living, and excellent healthcare options. The state also has a wide range of cultural amenities, including museums, theaters, and art galleries. Delaware is a pretty cool state. I mean, they got Wilmington on the north end of the state. If you stay out of there, it's a great place to live. The only other knock they have is they have some pretty rough winters. I mean, it's the mid-Atlantic area, so yeah, it can get cold. This is a great place to live if you're a history buff. I mean, so much history went on in New Jersey, Pennsylvania right there, obviously Baltimore and Washington, D.C. You're not terribly far from New York City if you want to go there. It's not a bad place to live. The city that has the highest percentage of retirees is Milford, with 28.8% of their population being over the age of 60, which 60 doesn't necessarily mean you're retired, but it's just kind of giving you an idea. Delaware received 150 votes. Number 14, New Mexico. New Mexico is a state that's perfect for retirees seeking a unique cultural experience with its Native American history and a serious art scene, especially in Santa Fe. At least that's my experience. Other people might think they have better art other places in New Mexico. Santa Fe is amazing. I mean, not just the art, the architecture of the place. I love it. One of the biggest things drawing them in is the low cost of living. It's lower than many other states, and the healthcare in New Mexico is excellent. I've mentioned this before, but just in case this is your first time here and you're, let's say, 20, 25, 30, as you get older, you need good healthcare. All the damage you put your body through in your 20s, 30s, and 40s catches up with you in your mid-50s. Rio Rancho is where you'll find the most retirees, at least percentage of. That's 29.6% of their population is above the age of 60. New Mexico got 175 votes. Number 13, Nevada. Nevada, it's a solid place for retirement if you don't mind the heat. I mean, it doesn't have snow all the time. It does snow occasionally in the Las Vegas area, and that's where most of the retirees will move to, the Henderson, Las Vegas area. They almost never get snow, but in recent years, it's snowed there like twice. And we're not talking feet of snow or anything like that. So if in retirement you plan on not shoveling snow, your chances are pretty good in the Las Vegas metro area of never shoveling snow again. The state's cost of living is slightly above average, but it offers a range of affordable housing options and no state income tax, which is always good. The highest percentage of retirees you're going to find in Sun City, Summerlin. This is a 55-year and up community, so that's why they got a good percentage here. Some of the cities and communities on this list will be retirement communities. But yeah, they got 40.6%. Nevada got 177 votes. Number 12, Georgia. The Peach State comes in at number 12. I could see this. I'm a little surprised it wasn't later on in the list. I would have put it somewhere around number 7, but that's just me. Honest reality, I don't know how Delaware even got on here. I mean, maybe, but just doesn't seem like a place that's on anyone's retirement radar. But according to the survey, it is. Anyway, back to Georgia. Georgia is a state that offers a range of benefits for retirees, including a warm climate, beautiful scenery, and affordable cost of living. The state also has excellent healthcare options with numerous medical centers and hospitals. They're also really big if you're retired military. If you are retired Army, you probably already know this. They have some great bases there that you can get what you need. The place with the most 60 and above would be Peachtree City. 31.4% of that community is over the age of 60. Georgia got 181 votes. Number 11, Wyoming. You know, I'm a little surprised at this one. I thought we'd see Wyoming at least in the top 10, but here they are at number 11. Wyoming is a state that offers a range of benefits for retirees. The Cowboy State has a relatively low cost of living compared to other states. Retirees can stretch out their retirement savings a little bit further in Wyoming, which is always good. Wyoming has a good healthcare system with several highly regarded hospitals and medical facilities located throughout the state. Now, there's a little asterisk that goes for this one. A lot of the people that live in Wyoming live away from the cities. Sometimes access to healthcare can be limited if that's the choice you made. Now, they've got plenty of clinics and stuff like that, but if you move to Wyoming and need to be at a hospital for some kind of ultrasound, I don't know, CAT scan, whatever, you may have a drive ahead of you. The city with the highest percentage of retirees is Jackson. 21.8% of their population is over the age of 60. Wyoming got 182 votes. Number 10, Idaho. Idaho's another state that's still off the radar for many retirees, but it offers a good range of benefits, including low taxes, low cost of living, excellent healthcare options, and of course, decently priced real estate. The Gem State also has plenty of things for you to do, especially if you like to get outdoors. Depending on where you do move in Idaho, you can get some weather during the winter, so beware of that. The city with the highest percentage of retirees is Coeur d'Alene, with 25.4% of their population being over 60. Idaho got 194 votes. Number 9, Utah. Utah offers a unique combination of natural beauty, outdoor recreation, and cultural amenities. The state's cost of living is slightly above the national average, but it has a range of affordable housing options, and the healthcare in Utah is excellent. For all you 20-year-olds that are watching this and going by my statistics, that's about 13% of you. Every one of the 15 states on this list is known for having excellent healthcare. That just shows you how important that does get as you get older. I wasn't lying when I said that. Little piece of advice for you guys. This is your fatherly wisdom for the day. Take care of your knees and your lower back. That seems to be where you feel it the most as you get older. But Utah does have excellent healthcare, and it normally shows up on lowest crime rates. Nothing's going to beat Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont. They're always the top of the heap when it comes to the lowest crime rate. Utah is normally the best on the West Coast. The Utah city with the most retirees, or people over 60, would be St. George, with 21.9% of their population being 60 and above. Now, I brought this up before. That's a great place to retire, especially if you want to live in a nice, calm place, but you still like to go to the casino. St. George isn't too far away from the Nevada border, and they got some casinos right there on the border. 216 people voted for Utah. Number 8, South Carolina. South Carolina is known for its warm climate, beautiful beaches, and friendly residents. And Charleston is home to one of my favorite realtors, or real estate agents. I don't know what they like to be called anymore. I don't know what anyone likes to be called anymore. I do know calling a barista sugar britches is not okay anymore. And cue the people that will leave comments that say it never was okay. I gotta apologize. I know some of you were typing that in, and I just stole your thunder. But South Carolina is a very appealing place for retirees. They have a very low cost of living. Sure, inside some of the cities like Charleston and Bluffton and Hilton Head, it can get expensive, but for the most part, this is a very affordable state. Excellent healthcare. They've got an overabundance of medical centers and a bunch of hospitals. South Carolina is a good place to live if you're looking for decent weather. Sure, they do get hit by hurricanes and things like that, but no place is perfect. You can go out to San Diego and have to worry about wildfires and earthquakes. The place that has the highest percentage of retirees would be Hilton Head Island, and it's 44.4% of them are above the age of 60. Number 7, Virginia. Virginia is a state that combines a rich history and culture with a high quality of life and excellent health care. The state's cost of living is slightly above the national average, along with their housing. If you get up some of the areas of northern Virginia near Washington, D.C., it gets pretty expensive. But you look around the state and they do have a bunch of small towns and smaller cities that have affordable housing options. The place with the highest percentage of retirees would be Williamsburg with 32.9%. Virginia got 253 votes. Number 6, Tennessee. Staying in the South, we have the volunteer state of Tennessee. This is a state that has something for everyone. Lively cities, great small towns, natural beauty everywhere. They also got a low cost of living, excellent healthcare, and affordable housing. You have some places in Tennessee that have extremely low housing for decent houses too. Not some shack that the Clampetts came from. Side note, that was a Beverly Hillbillies reference, and I just realized Jethro, Max Baer Jr., is still alive. He's 85 years old. The place you're going to find the highest percentage of retirees would be Fairfield Glade. 58.3% of them are over the age of 60. Tennessee got 268 votes. Number 5, Colorado. Colorado is big for military retirees. You got Fort Carson there, the Air Force Academy, a few other installations. So a lot of retirees, when they get out, they normally stay near a duty station they used to like. And that's one reason I thought about Colorado when I left California. Colorado's a beautiful state with a lot of good things going on there. For retirees who love outdoors, this is great. Colorado's a dream destination. Maybe not so much during wildfire season. If you got some breathing issues, just keep that in mind. The state has a very high quality of life and excellent healthcare options. If you're looking for the highest percentage of retirees, you're going to look at Castle Pines. 37.7% of the residents there are over the age of 60. Colorado got 269 votes. Number 4, Texas. Texas has always been one of those states just on the outside of where most people retire to. You know, it's always like Hawaii, Arizona, Texas, and Florida. Things are changing. Someone actually beat them for the number 3 spot this year. Surprise, surprise. I just did a video, there's a link for it down below, about how Texas is starting to see a slowdown in the amount of people from other states moving to Texas. Which, like I said in that video, I'm sure a lot of the Texans will rejoice to hear that news. Texas is known for its low taxes and low cost living, making it an attractive option for retirees. The state also has a thriving economy, with plenty of jobs to choose from if you decide to work a little in retirement. The Lone Star State is just a great state for everything. I mean, if you want concerts, great. If you want sporting events, amazing. If you like museums, perfect. Want to get run off the road for driving a Tesla? Exciting! If you want to know where the highest percentage of retirees are in Texas, Sun City. 35.3% of their population is over the age of 60. 274 people voted for Texas. Number 3, North Carolina. The Tar Heel State is an increasingly popular destination for retirees. It's got a mild climate, beautiful scenery, low cost of living. Now, one thing North Carolina has over most states, they all have great health care. North Carolina is normally in the top 5 whenever you're talking about best healthcare, especially the Raleigh-Durham Chapel Hill area. It's amazing healthcare up there. So it's no wonder that where you're going to find the highest percentage of retirees, it's going to be Chapel Hill. 20.2% are over the age of 60. 278 people voted for North Carolina. Number 2, Arizona. Arizona's got a dry heat going on that attracts a whole lot of retirees. If you're a person that likes hot weather, why not? I'm definitely not a hot weather type of person, but absolutely not a heat and humidity type person. The amount of sweat that comes out of me when I'm in like Mississippi or Florida weather is ridiculous. I start sweating like my wife just asked me how much I've spent on drones. But with Arizona's dry climate and stunning desert landscapes, it's a popular choice for retirees, especially if you are an active senior. The cost of living in Arizona is well below the national average, and the state has a wide range of affordable housing options. Plenty of affordable condos and even homes. Or trailers, if you're into trailer parks and stuff like that. Arizona has a lot of them, and a lot of them are really nice. But before you do that, if you ever are thinking about buying a trailer in a trailer park, make sure you watch the John Oliver special. He has that show Last Week Tonight. Well, he did one whole episode on the trailer park and mobile home industry. Didn't paint a very good picture. The city with the highest percentage of retirees would be Sun City with 73.8%. 311 people voted for Arizona. And number 1, Florida. That's right, Gen Xers, just like the baby boomers, the silent generation, the greatest generation, and the lost generation. They have all chosen to retire in Florida, and we're going to keep that trend rolling, it looks like, at least for another generation. We'll see if that gets switched up for the millennials. But Florida is the longtime favorite for retirees, thanks to its warm weather, sandy beaches, and no state income tax. The state's cost of living is slightly above the national average, but the healthcare is excellent, and they got plenty of things to do. And a lot of other retirees to hang out with, especially in the villages. If you want to be around a bunch of other retirees when you finally retire, you might want to move to the villages. 52.5% of the population is over the age of 60. Florida received 387 votes.
All right, the next one I liked. It was the first time we did a video about countries to retire in. Here you go. Are you one of the many people wanting to leave the United States when you retire? If yes, you are part of a growing minority. The desire to leave the US for retirement was, for the most part, a desire to save money for most people. It is expensive to retire here in the United States unless you want to live in a shack 3 miles down a dirt road in Pug Tickle, Arkansas. In recent years, more people that can afford retirement in the United States just want to leave for what they consider a better life in another country. Some people are even retiring on cruise ships. Oh God, that's a dream of mine. I would love to retire on a cruise ship. Anyway, today's video goes off the World Bank's Retirement Index Score. When they do this study, they rank countries by several different things, including affordability, political stability, safety, both physical and financial, and of course, healthcare. They have some other things in there, but those are the big ones. After that, they give them a percentage score. Most people consider anything above 60% as good, and anything above 75% is amazing. Nobody has ever gotten above 86%. People are gonna ask, so I'm gonna tell you. The United States is not on this list. In 2021, they were ranked 18th. In 2022, they dropped to 20th out of 47 Western countries that were included in this. If you guys wanna see a video about the Eastern countries for retirement, let me know in the comment section below. But today, we look at the 10 best countries in the West for retirement. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look.
Number 10, the Czech Republic. Retiring in the Czech Republic has become an attractive option for many U.S. residents seeking a nice, peaceful, culturally rich environment. On top of that, it is pretty cheap to live here. It's so cheap you'd expect the whole place to be like in poverty, because that's how it is in the United States. If it's really cheap, it's a bunch of really poor small towns or neighborhoods. The Czech Republic has a really high quality of life. They've got great health care, plenty of things to do. Most people feel the locals are friendly and welcoming. A couple years ago, I did a video about countries to move to in Europe, and I brought up the Czech Republic, and there's this one YouTuber that's lived there for like 4 years at the time. Probably been about 6 now. One piece of advice he gave was, make sure you at least make an attempt to learn the language. It'll make life a lot smoother for you. Now, as you'll learn on this list, a lot of these places are really nice, but they're very expensive. Czech Republic does not have that problem. It's in the top 10, and it is extremely affordable. According to the World Bank, the purchasing power in the Czech Republic compared to the United States is about half. So if you bought $100 worth of stuff in the United States, that same stuff in the Czech Republic would cost $47. The global retirement index score is 73% in the Czech Republic, and the World Bank says you need about $1,450 to live here comfortably every month. Now keep in mind, we're just looking at the best places, money we're not too worried about in this video. Number 9, Denmark. There's a lot of good things to say about Denmark. First of all, it's got a free public healthcare system. It's considered one of the best countries for businesses and foreign investment. It is also one of the greenest countries in the world, with wind and solar accounting for about 46% of the electricity consumption. As a result, Denmark's economy is a little more resilient, and its economic growth could be more sustainable. Now, on top of all that, Denmark has plenty of things to do, and the locals are considered welcoming and friendly. And whenever I bring that up, there's always a bunch of people that want to dispute it, no matter what country I'm talking about. They always want to leave these comments like, oh, they're really mean there. They were totally rude to me and treated me like garbage. And you know the rest of the story goes, I got drunk 3 nights in a row, broke 4 windows, threw a bike in the canal, started 3 or 4 fights, and tried to get a massage from an Uber driver. They're totally rude. If you want to live in Denmark, I would suggest doing none of those things. The World Bank says their global retirement index score is 74%. $100 worth of stuff in Denmark will actually cost you $109. What you need to live in Denmark comfortably, in US dollars, is $6,100 a month. Number 8, the Netherlands. Now, there's a bit of a controversy when I brought these two countries up next to each other before. It wasn't as much a controversy as someone didn't pay attention in geography class. I put these two up in different spots. One was like 7, the other one was 6, and someone in the comment section goes, you idiot, they're the same country. So before you leave that comment, keep in mind, the other people commenting after you say that are not going to be friendly. At least they weren't the last time to the last person that said that. If you think the Netherlands and Denmark are the same place, you need to tell Germany, because Germany's in between them by land, and the North Sea by water. The Netherlands is one of the best countries for a comfortable retirement, and this is because it's got a high standard of living, a welcoming population, and a huge expat community. North Americans moving to the Netherlands is nothing new. This has been going on more and more over the last, it's been going on since forever, but over the last 30 years, it's become quite the thing. They also have a good healthcare system, a good work-life balance. Compared to a lot of other countries in this part of Europe, the Netherlands aren't that expensive. $100 worth of stuff in the United States costs about $88 in the Netherlands. Their global retirement index score is 75%, and what you need to live there comfortably is $4,787 a month. Number 7, Luxembourg. Luxembourg is a great country. It's very small, and they have a high quality of life. It's one of the best countries in Europe when it comes to retirement finances. Apart from that, definitely has a high standard of living and welcoming communities. Now, one thing to keep in mind, all these countries don't just open up the doors and let you in. Some countries make you jump through so many hoops, you think you're a poodle on the Ed Sullivan Show. And if you got that, congratulations, you're over 60. And I do mean congratulations. That's the goal. Get older, right? Not everyone does. But as far as getting into a country, Luxembourg does make it kind of difficult. Now, this could change in months. This could change in a couple of years. Right now, it's considered kind of hard to get into this country to be a citizen. Not as bad as Liechtenstein, but they're up there. When it comes to their goods and services, they're a little more expensive than the United States. $100 worth of stuff in the US costs you about $103.4 in Luxembourg. Their global retirement index score is 75%. Now, this is where it gets a little expensive because there's, real estate is not cheap here. What you need to live here comfortably is $7,600 a month. Yeah, it's kind of rough. Number 6, New Zealand. New Zealand is one of the richest countries in Oceania, and it is one of the best countries to retire for North Americans, since it's widely regarded as having the capacity to withstand extreme global economic collapses, should there be one. This, of course, has to do with its strategic location, agricultural abundance, and economic self-sufficiency. The country also has one of the most generous social safety nets. It also has what's considered a decent healthcare system. According to the Commonwealth Fund, they get pretty high marks. They rank them like 1 to 20, and most of theirs are under 7, except for one. Outcomes. That's not a good thing. It's ranked 9. Still not terrible, but everything else, like preventative care, they get high marks. Coordinated care, they get high marks. Affordability, great marks. That's compared to the United States, where almost every single one of their rankings or their scores is above 10. The way they do that is the lower the better. So 10, 11, 12, 15 in some of their cases in the United States. Yeah, you definitely get better healthcare in New Zealand. And that draws a lot of retirees in. Now, when you look at their affordability, you kind of have to take Auckland out of the equation. Auckland is one of the most expensive cities to live in the world right now. But their global retirement index score is 75%. For goods and services, $100 worth of stuff from America costs about $101 in New Zealand. That's not bad. What they say you need to live comfortably in New Zealand, $4,138 a month. Number 5, Australia. Yep, not too far away from New Zealand, you got Australia. Australia has the largest economy in Oceania, which is strange because New Zealand is considered the richest country in Oceania. And it's one of the most economically prosperous countries in the world. And it's got a sizable expat community in all their major cities. Nothing goes on the inner part. The outback, basically, of Australia is it's a wasteland for the most part. It's beautiful, but hardly anyone lives out there. Saw a great thing about the Outback years ago. And this guy said, you could drive around the Outback for 2 days and not see anyone. And 2 months before you see someone worth talking to. The global retirement index score for Australia is 76%. They have a lot of retirees from the United States and Canada here. Now, it's a little more expensive than the United States. $100 worth of stuff in the United States costs $107 in Australia. Now, the next one varies greatly depending on where you are in the country. I mean, their cities can be extremely expensive, but you got a lot of small coastal towns that really aren't that bad, and ones that aren't that coastal. But what you need to survive overall for the country is about $5,036 a month. Number 4, Ireland. I was surprised at this one. I didn't know Ireland had that good of a thing going on for retirees, but apparently they do, because here they are. Now, these aren't my opinions, and I'm not just putting countries where I think they go. I'm going by what the World Bank said. Ireland is really known for its low corporate tax rate. It's like the lowest in the world. And it's one of the top countries for foreign investment. It's also one of the easiest countries to immigrate to. Tax benefits for retirees here include no wealth tax, possible tax exemptions on income generated outside of Ireland. They're very tax-friendly in Ireland, and I think that's why a lot of retirees will move there. Even though they give you a bunch of breaks on taxes, it's a little bit more expensive when it comes to goods and services than here in the United States. $100 worth of stuff here in the United States costs about $110 in Ireland. Their global retirement index score is 77%, and you need about $5,834 a month to live in Ireland. Number 3, Iceland. Iceland is getting more and more popular in recent years. I mean, it's beautiful in this kind of desolate island type of look. You know, it's like a big volcanic rock with geysers popping out here and there, and then beautiful cities. It's a really strange place, but it's beautiful and strange at the same time. Iceland is one of the best countries for a comfortable retirement due to its high standard of living and strong social welfare system. Healthcare here is good, but it's also cheap, with many of the healthcare costs covered by the state. They also have a thing where, now I wasn't totally sure if I understood it right, but what I gathered, I'm missing a lot of details here. They have a cap for how much a patient can be charged. Now, it is number 3 on this list, and it has a pretty good score. The global retirement index score for Iceland is 79%. Goods and services are a little expensive. $100 worth of stuff in the United States will cost you $120 in Iceland. What you need to live there comfortably in retirement, $5,685 a month. It's a little up there, but it is a great country to retire in. Number 2, Switzerland. Everyone loves Switzerland. It always shows up on one of those happiest country lists. It also shows up on the countries with the highest quality of life lists, most beautiful countries. Everything goes right for Switzerland when you're looking at it from a statistical point of view. And then you go there and you realize the statistics didn't do it justice. But that does come with a price. Switzerland has a high quality of life. They also have a high cost of living and a high standard of living. The good news is their taxes are some of the lowest in the world, and they've got an excellent healthcare system, which is great if you're a retiree. If you're watching this and you're in your 20s, why do I keep talking about healthcare? Well, as you get older, you'll realize that is a big part of your life. And in case you're wondering when it starts, around 28 is when I realized things were starting to hurt a little bit. Then again, I did a lot of damage in the military, so maybe I was a little bit early. By 35, you'll sleep wrong on a pillow and not be able to go to work for 3 days. Switzerland's global retirement index score is 80%. Phenomenal. Now, their goods and services are very expensive. $100 worth of stuff in the United States would run you about $131 in Switzerland. They suggest you have about $7,454 a month to live comfortably in Switzerland. All right, before we get to number 1, if you didn't catch on by now, we have another channel called On This Day. There's a link for that down below. We're trying to grow it. All the money goes to classrooms across the country. All right, on to number 1. And number 1. Norway. Yes, Norway, like Switzerland, is one of those countries that always seems to be on the happiest list, the best quality of life list, the country with the most blonde women list. That might not be official, though. Sweden gives them a run for their money. But Norway is considered the best country for a comfortable retirement, according to the Global Retirement Index, with the highest scores in metrics like retirement finances, material well-being, old age dependency, and governance. Norway is beautiful, Norway is rugged, and Norway can get cold. But it is one of the best places to retire on planet Earth. If you can afford it, it's kind of expensive. Their global retirement index score is 81%, which is outstanding. What it costs for goods and services there? Well, what you'd buy for $100 in the United States would cost you $108 in Norway. That's for goods and services. And what they say you need to survive? $7,959 a month. That is pricey. But if you could afford it, probably worth it. Maybe later we'll do the most affordable, decent ones or something. I don't know. Let me know in the comment section below. All right, before we get to the end of this video, I thought this would be interesting. I'm going to tell you what the most expensive place to retire is on the planet. It is Bermuda. Bermuda, $100 worth of stuff in Bermuda goes for about $157. And what they suggest you need to live comfortably in Bermuda? $10,437. Brutal. And their global retirement index score is 69.
Now, this one's about 3 years old. The numbers are a little different, but the order is about the same. So my suggestion, add about 15% onto the prices I give you in this, and, you'll probably be closer to accurate. It's titled 50 States Ranked by Retirement Expenses.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to World According to Briggs. Let's talk about nursing home costs. For a lot of us, this is something that we've looked into or thought about. Either it's because you're getting closer to that phase of your life, or you have a parent, let's say a grandparent, facing this in the near future. If you've looked into this, you already know it can get expensive. So much so, for a lot of us, you end up doing it at home on your own. You just take care of your loved one at home. I ended up doing that for my mother-in-law. She had COPD. She just didn't want to be in a home all the time, so we ended up taking care of her at home. In case you don't know, nursing homes provide residential care for elderly or disabled people. Some nursing homes also provide short-term rehabilitation for those who have undergone surgery, illness, injuries that include physical therapy, things like that. I have a friend right now, he shattered his hip in a car accident, and he's been in one of these places for like 2 months. He could go home, but there's no one there to take care of him, and he needs care all the time. He's only 40. Nursing homes typically have nurses, physical therapists, and certified nursing assistants to help you out. Some available 24 hours a day. Probably not the physical therapist. Those people like keep 9 to 5 hours. But nurses and nursing assistants, things like that, they're always there for you. The cost of nursing home depends on many factors: length of stay, location, care needed, is it inclusive, and what type of place it is. There's also higher costs for a private room versus semi-private room. Semi-private is where you have a roommate and your beds are typically separated by a curtain. That's it. If you've researched this, you know private insurance and things like Medicaid pay for a portion and you pay for some of it. So in a lot of cases, I'm going to give you these numbers and they might not be what you're paying yourself. Some of it may be picked up by insurance. Today, we're giving you all 50 states and what the average monthly cost is in each state for both semi-private and private rooms according to Senior Life and Medicaid. I will tell you to stay till the end and be prepared to spit out whatever you're drinking when you hear the numbers at the end. It's scary. It'll make you move out of the state before you get near that point in your life. All right, let's see what we found. 51. Oklahoma. Yeah, Oklahoma's pretty cheap in a lot of different areas, and nursing homes is one of them. For a semi-private room, you are looking at $4,639 a month, and if you want to be a single, you're looking at $5,293 a month on average. 50. Texas. Look at that. Texas is cheap for both the young and the elderly. Semi-private in Texas is $4,798. If you want a private room, there's a little bit of a jump here. It's $6,540 on average every single month. Way to go, Texas. Relatively cheap housing and relatively cheap nursing home costs. Not bad. 49. Missouri. Missouri has an older population. They're one of the older states we have. Not a lot of young people are moving into Missouri, so they just have an older population. If you're in that older population, you're looking at $5,019 a month for a semi-private and $5,543 to have a private room. 48. Louisiana. I don't know why anyone want to live in Louisiana in their youth or as they get older, but people do. And if you want a semi-private room here, you're looking at $5,232 a month on average. And to get your own room, you're looking at $5,542. 47. Arkansas. Like Louisiana, who would really want to live here? I don't know. People do. I shouldn't say that because their land is beautiful. They just got some pretty nasty areas that need to be, I don't know, mowed down or something. But if you want to live in a nursing home in Arkansas, you're looking at $5,353 for a semi-private room, and to live alone, you're looking at $5,986 a month on average. 46. Kansas. Like Missouri, they have an older population, and as the years go on, they're going to need more and more beds to accommodate that older population. But right now, if you want a semi-private room in the Jayhawk State, you're looking at $5,414 a month on average, and to live alone, you're looking at $5,865 a month on average. 45. Illinois. So the numbers here are going to be rural Illinois or outside of Chicago. Anything in Chicago is expensive. I took a quick glance. Some of the nicer nursing homes in Chicago are too expensive to talk about in polite company. So if you're going to move into a nursing home in Illinois, it's going to be outside of the city, and you're looking at $5,916 for a semi-private room on average and $6,753 a month to live alone. 44. Utah. Utah's beautiful, and you could pick a lot worse places to live in a nursing home or to live in general. So this isn't a bad place to live, and it's relatively inexpensive compared to other states. But for a semi-private room in Utah, you're looking at $6,083, but they take a little bit more of a jump up. If you want to live alone, that's $7,604 a month on average. 43, Iowa. Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, they're all in the same area and they share a lot of the same issues. But if you want a semi-private room at a nursing home in Iowa, you're looking at $6,083 a month on average. And to live alone, you're looking at $6,479. 42, Alabama. If you want to be in a nursing home in the heart of Dixie, it'll cost you $6,279 a month on average for a semi-private room and $6,661 to live alone. 41, Georgia. Staying in the South, we have the Peach State, Georgia. Georgia's a lot like Florida, they just don't have as many beaches. They have some beautiful places to live, so it might not be the worst place to retire or grow old. If you want to live in a semi-private room in a nursing home in Georgia, you're looking at $6,342 a month on average, and to live alone, you're looking at $6,768 a month. 40. Tennessee. The volunteer state will give you a semi-private room for $6,388 a month on average, and about a $500 jump for a private room. You'll get that for $6,844. A little less than $500, but not a bad place to stay. 39, South Carolina. They got a lot of people moving out of South Carolina these days. Actually, the younger people are flooding out of there, and a lot of older people are moving in. They better start growing some more nursing homes because they don't have enough, according to one article I read. But if you want a semi-private room in South Carolina, you're looking at $6,418 a month, and if you want to live alone, you're looking at $7,209. 38. Arizona. This is one of the most popular retirement destinations in this country, and I'm kind of shocked that they're this low on this chart. They're kind of inexpensive, and I would have expected them to be a lot more expensive considering how many people are retiring and growing old in Arizona these days. But if you want a semi-private room, you're only looking at $6,494 on average in Arizona, and to live in a private room, you're looking at $7,908. 37. South Dakota. This one's probably a little too cold for most people getting up there in years, but they do have people staying there. If you want a semi-private room in South Dakota, you're looking at $6,616 on average. And if you want to get your own room, you're looking at $7,072 a month. 36. Mississippi. I'm kind of shocked they're charging anything to live in this state, but they are. They're at number 36. They're getting closer to the middle of the pack, and this place blows. If you want to grow old in Mississippi, you're looking at $6,692 a month on average. And to get your own place in the Magnolia State, you're looking at $7,087 on average per month. 35. Kentucky. Kentucky can get cold in the winter. So again, retirees tend not to go places like this, and then you definitely don't want to get in the later years in a cold climate for most people. I mean, they're not the worst, but Kentucky does get some cold winters. But if you do decide to stay and brave the cold winters, you're looking at $6,844 a month on average for a semi-private room, and this is a good jump, $7,604 for a private room on average in the Bluegrass State. 34. Indiana. Over the last couple of years, I've kind of started liking Indiana a little bit more. The more things I read and the more research I've done, Indiana gets a worse reputation than they deserve. That's my opinion. So it might not be the worst place to go into the golden years. But if you do, to get a semi-private room, you're looking at $6,859 a month on average. And you got a good step up here for a private room. That's $8,243 a month on average. 33. Nebraska. Nebraska's getting a little more expensive than I think they should be. I mean, they're just like Iowa, they're just like Kansas, but they're farther up the list than those two were by a good stretch. But if you want to stay in Nebraska in the golden years, you're looking at $6,905 a month on average. And to get your own room, $7,266. 32. North Carolina. The Tar Heel State isn't really that popular these days with the older crowd. Definitely younger people are moving in here in droves pretty much. They still have nursing homes and they still got people that need nursing homes. And if you're one of them, it's going to cost you $6,950 a month on average for a semi-private room and $7,711 to live alone. 31. Montana. Who knew they had nursing homes in Montana? I had no idea. I thought those people were so independent. They just grow old alone, determined to make it to the end without needing a nursing home. That's kind of the attitude you get from people from Montana. But they do. And if you do want a semi-private room in one of the Montana nursing homes, it's going to set you back $7,006 a month for a semi-private room and $7,310 a month to live alone and be independent. 30. Ohio. Ohio's kind of a strange place. In most states, if you move into the city, it's going to be more expensive. Other than Columbus, all the other cities in Ohio are probably cheaper to live than in a rural community. You should be paid to live in most parts of Cleveland, actually. But if you want to live in a nursing home in Ohio, you're looking at $7,118 a month on average for a semi-private room and $7,908 to live alone. 29. Wyoming. Like Montana, who knew that they had nursing homes in Wyoming? It really seems like a place where they just, to the last day, they're staying at home, working in the yard or something, pulling a transmission out at 87. But if you do go into a nursing home in Wyoming, you're looking at $7,178 to have a curtain between you and a neighbor, and $7,543 if you want to live alone. 28. New Mexico. How did they get this far onto the list? They shouldn't be this expensive. But if you do want to live in a nursing home in New Mexico, you're looking at $7,285 a month for semi-private, and for private, it is $7,619 a month on average. 27, Virginia. You know, Virginia's a nice state. It gets cold in the winter, which is usually a deterrent for most retirees and people of the nursing home age. They don't want to be in that cold, but it's a nice state other than the cold. If you want to stay in this nice state and get through a couple of those winters, you're looking at $7,452 a month on average for a semi-private room, and it takes a good jump here. $8,517 for a private room for a nursing home in Virginia. 26. Idaho. Idaho, again, it's like Montana and Wyoming. They're all the same state, in my opinion. They're not really, but they're very similar in a lot of their ways. Independent, very much live in the country lifestyle whenever they can. It's how people in Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming are. It's just how it is. But if you want to grab a nursing home room in Idaho, you're looking at $7,574 for a semi-private, $8,045 a month on average for a private room. Now, before we get to number 25, little intermission thing here. We are talking about averages, and we will get all kinds of comments in the comment section below about my mom lives in a place and these numbers are wrong because she's in Idaho and you said it's $8,045 for a private room. I'm paying $9,220. We'll get that. I promise you. Something like that. We're talking averages here, so just let it go. All right, on to number 25. 25. Colorado. One of my favorite states, Colorado, and we're at the midway point. If you want to live in a semi-private room in Colorado, you're looking at $7,892 and even $9,000 to live alone in a nursing home in Colorado. 24. Florida. This is a shocker. Everyone wants to retire in Florida, and here they are at the number 24 spot. Just basic economics tell you if something's in demand, it's going to be expensive. Florida's going against the grain. If you want a semi-private room in Florida, $8,152 a month on average, and $9,064 for a private room. 23. Nevada. Nevada's gotten more and more popular with the younger people of California and the older people. A lot of people are moving to Nevada for retirement and then eventually nursing home type life. But if you want a semi-private room in the Silver State, you're looking at $8,228 a month on average and $9,262 to live alone. And knowing Nevada, they probably have like slot machines in these nursing homes. 22. Wisconsin. I like Wisconsin, but again, we run into the problem with this is a northern state and it gets cold. So they don't have as big a nursing home population as they probably would if they were a little bit warmer. So this is a beautiful state and it's nice and the people are great. But if you want to live in a semi-private room here, it's $8,334. And to get a private room, you're looking at $9,346. 21. California. Who let them slip in at 21? This is like the most expensive state, and they're letting people spend their golden years in the golden state? This cheap? Unacceptable. They should be the top of the list. Anyway, if you want a semi-private room in California, you're looking at $8,365 a month on average and $9,817 for a private room. Number 20, Michigan. How is Michigan more expensive than California? Weird. But if you want a semi-private room in Michigan, you're looking at $8,562 a month on average, and a private room, $9,125. 19. Washington. The Evergreen State is beautiful. It's kind of like Oregon. It's just a beautiful place to be. They got other problems here in Oregon, but Washington and Oregon, in my opinion, are two of the most beautiful states you could ever spend any time in. And if you want to spend your golden years in Washington in a nursing home, it's going to be $8,669 a month for a semi-private room, and for a private room, you're looking at $9,718. 18. Rhode Island. Yeah, people do retire and grow old in Rhode Island. Oddly enough, for a semi-private room, it's $8,821, and for a private room, $9,733. 17. Minnesota. This one's a little weird. We're getting up there in the price now, cracking $9,000. If you want a semi-private room in Minnesota, you're looking at $9,125, and to get a private room, it's $10,188 a month on average. That is starting to get expensive. 16. Maryland. I'm sure most of these prices are outside of Baltimore. Baltimore is such a weird city. I mean, it's a major city and it's going to be expensive, but it's also an extremely dangerous city. So I'm not sure if it should be expensive or they should actually pay you to live there because it's so dangerous. Who knows? If you want a semi-private room in Maryland, you're looking at $9,231 a month on average, and to get a private room, you're looking at $9,673. 15. Oregon. Yes, my home state. Well, my new home state. I'm originally from California, in case you don't know. Grew up in Southern California, moved here about 11 years ago. But before you say anything, I lived all over the country with the military, so don't even start. But if you want to spend your golden years here in Oregon, you're looking at $9,277 a month and $9,977 for a private room. 14. Maine. Another one of my favorite states. I love Maine. Look at that. 15 was Oregon. 14 was Maine. They both have a Portland for a major city. Coincidence? I think not. Moving on. If you want a semi-private room in Maine, you're looking at $9,429 a month on average and $10,098 for a private room in Maine. 13. Vermont. Vermont is a beautiful state, and I could honestly see anyone putting up with the winters there just to be living in Vermont. I could do it, even if I was much older than I am right now. But if you want a semi-private room in Vermont, you're looking at $9,475 a month on average and $9,901 for a private room. 12. Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania has an older population, and they have a lot of nursing homes. And those nursing homes will set you back around $9,612 a month for a semi-private room and $10,114 a month for a private room. 11. West Virginia. How did this happen? West Virginia has an older population. A higher percentage of their population is over the age of 60 than almost any other state. And nobody's making money there. So how they're this far on the list is just baffles me. But if you want a semi-private room in West Virginia, you're looking at $10,281 a month on average. And for a private room, it's $11,072. 10. New Hampshire or Vermont. If you don't live in either one of them and you went to them, you'll probably confuse the two every single day. They're very similar. New Hampshire's just a little more expensive because if you want to spend your golden years here, it's going to cost you $10,342 a month for a semi-private room and $11,102 for a private room. Number 9, Delaware. Delaware's a nice state. They got some nice beaches, but if you're not from the East Coast, you really don't ever think about Delaware or know much about Delaware, other than Wilmington is dangerous. And if you're in the military, you know about Dover because you come home in a body bag from any place, you got to go through Dover first. That's kind of a depressing thing. Anyway, in Delaware, if you want to see your golden years, you're looking at $10,494 for a semi-private and $10,950 for a private room. Number 8, New Jersey. Now, New Jersey is a weird state for so many different things. Years ago, I read an article about two older gentlemen in a nursing home. They had an argument over a woman and had a point-blank shootout in a room with 2 revolvers. Each one of them fired 8 shots. Neither one of them got hit. A nursing assistant did get hit in the leg. That was the only injury here. The reason they didn't hit each other, one guy had cataracts and the other guy was steadying himself on a walker. Welcome to New Jersey. If you want a semi-private room, I don't know if you get a firearm with that, but in New Jersey, a semi-private room is $10,646 a month on average. And if you want to live alone here, you're looking at $11,863 a month on average. 7, North Dakota. Mind blown again. It's North Dakota. It's supposed to be cheap. It's cold. What is going on with the world? There's no way North Dakota should be this far up on the list, but if you want to stay here, it's $11,027 for a semi-private room, $11,690 for a private room. 6, New York. Now that makes sense. New York's an expensive place to live. They're in the top 10 for most expensive. So yeah, makes sense. The world's back to normal. If you want to live in a nursing home in New York, you're looking at $11,756 a month on average. If you want your own room, you're looking at $12,189 a month on average. 5, Massachusetts. Yeah, Massachusetts is expensive. Not a lot of people realize it's not as expensive as New York, but it's up there. If you want to live in a nursing home in the Baked Bean State, you're looking at $12,015 for a semi-private room, $12,775 for a private room. 4, Hawaii. See, makes sense. Hawaii is expensive. They should be number 1 because that's probably everyone's first option to grab a nursing home in. But no, they're not. They're number 4. If you want a semi-private room in Hawaii, you're looking at $12,167 a month on average, and a private room in Paradise will set you back $13,657 a month. 3, Connecticut. Why are they here? I mean, it's Connecticut. If you want to get a room in a nursing home in Connecticut, to have a roommate, it'll set you back $12,623 a month on average. And to live alone and be a bachelor or bachelorette, you're looking at $13,733 a month. 2, Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. will definitely set you back a little bit, but not as much as number 1, and number 1 is alarming. But if you want a semi-private room in Washington, D.C., you're looking at $13,723 a month, and for a private room, you're looking at $14,134 a month. And number 1, Alaska. Who saw this one coming? Alaska is expensive because everything's got to be shipped there. Land isn't terribly expensive for such a beautiful state, but land at a nursing home is painfully expensive. Now buckle up. Remember I said you're going to spit something out when you hear these numbers? Keep in mind the last one we did, Washington, D.C. was $13,000 and $14,000. For a semi-private room in Alaska, you're looking at $27,573. Yeah, you heard me right. $27,573 a month on average. A private room is $29,291 a month on average. That's freaking scary.
All right, staying with the financial theme, we're doing one from 2023. It was titled Affordable Retirement Destinations. What is going on, everyone? You know, I get a lot of emails. One of the most common subjects is retirement. Where's the cheapest? Where's the best place? Where's the safest? And recently, where should I go for an early retirement? What state? What city? In the last couple months, I've done the worst state for retirement and the cheapest state for retirement. Today, I thought we'd talk about the cities and which ones are best for an early retirement. If you retire before 65, it is considered an early retirement. If you're 21 and you're working in a cubicle someplace, you just thought to yourself, I'm never going to make it. I'm going to die here in this cubicle. 90% of the early retirees are between 45 and 60. If you retire at 45, you're really not ready to join the early bird special lawn bowling crowd down in Florida, are ya? Besides, if you're 45 living in Florida, that is bad news for your skin. Too much sun and too much free time to be outside. If you ain't heavy on the sunscreen and lotion, you're gonna look 125 by the time you finally do hit that retirement age of 65. So in this video, we are looking at places where the economy, typical household income, and population are relatively in good health. And we also favored locations that have a high concentration of residents aged 45 to 63. So you have a better chance of enjoying your early retirement with people around your age. That being said, I think if we're going to look at cities for an early retirement home, you should probably start with number 10. Huntsville, Alabama. With its population of 444,000 residents, Huntsville, Alabama is a great place to retire early. And you heard me right, Huntsville, Alabama. It isn't too often an Alabama city makes it on a positive list of any sort. Unless, of course, you're looking at a list of best states to find a date at a family reunion, then yeah, they're all over it. The thing is this, Huntsville isn't like any other place in Alabama. They're like their own universe, really. Kind of like how Austin is in Texas. It's completely different from the rest of the state. You have everything here from symphonies to bass fishing. To be honest, you have all kinds of fishing in Huntsville, with the Tennessee River and the Indian Creek just on the edge of the city. Wait, is it still called the Indian Creek, or did they change it to the Indigenous People Creek? I don't know, I didn't get the memo. Anyway, moving on. They also have more golf courses than any city this size should be allowed to have. They're everywhere. And they got a Topgolf place too, so that's always good. The retired cost of living in Huntsville is about 5.4% below the national average, and the share of the population that is between 45 and 64 is 30%. The US average is 26.1%, so that's a good portion of the population will be right in your wheelhouse there. Number 9, Lake Havasu City, Arizona. With its population of 204,000, Lake Havasu City is a great desert town to take an early retirement. If you can handle extreme heat during the summer, this place is for you. Do you like boating, fishing, and like shaking your fist in anger at California and drunk college kids? Again, Lake Havasu City is for you. The city sits right on Lake Havasu, which I am sure you probably already figured out by the name. I mean, nobody has ever named a city miles from any measurable amount of water, something like Lake Erie, New Mexico. Anyway, it is directly across the lake from California and is downriver from Nevada, where you can go play the slots in Laughlin all you want. Gamble away that retirement money. Around different holidays like spring break, Lake Havasu is overrun with drunk young people. If that doesn't bother you, this is a great place to retire. The cost of living for retirees is about 1% below the national average. Not the best, but definitely not terrible. The share of the population that's between 45 and 64 is 29% in Lake Havasu City. So again, more people to hang out with around your age. Number 8, Twin Falls, Idaho. Twin Falls, Idaho, with its 105,000 residents, it's an extremely fresh air. They have great air quality, by the way. You know, it's really hard to go wrong moving to Idaho. It's become a very popular state to move to in the last handful of years. The only people I have ever heard complain about Idaho were 20-ish young people that grew up there and moved to Portland, Oregon. They hated growing up there, and they always seem to be from some small town. Twin Falls is not a small town. Anyway, most people love Twin Falls. It has a little crime by Idaho standards, but it's Disneyland dangerous compared to someplace like Detroit. It's not dangerous at all. Anyway, Twin Falls has a lot of things going for it. They also have a low cost of living and low housing costs. The only other knock they have on them is their schools aren't graded the best, but if you're retiring, it's really not something you're worried about, right? Now here's the other good news. The share of the population that's between 45 and 64 is about 30% again. And the cost of living for retirees is almost 10% below the national average. Like I said, you could do a lot worse than Twin Falls. Number 7, St. George, Utah. St. George and its population of 87,000 residents get to enjoy warm weather and beautiful landscapes. That is what draws most people to this place. But it's so much more. Like Idaho, it's hard to go wrong moving anywhere in Utah. St. George is a great place for early retirement. Good weather, low crime, low housing costs, and a cost of living for retirees that's about 3% lower than the national average. Golf, hike, the Virgin River's right there, ATVs, horseback riding, and you're only 45 minutes away from Mesquite, Nevada, in case you want to do some gambling and heavy drinking. St. George is probably best for the types that have a little more disposable income, because there's a lot to do here, and it can get expensive. But some of the cheaper things are like hiking and taking in sunsets that'll make anyone's Instagram do far better than it's doing right now, with pictures of grandkids and your poodle or your labradoodle. Number 6, Bozeman, Montana. Bozeman, Montana has 100,000 residents, and they spend a lot of time at the Bass Pro Shop and REI. If you got a fever for the outdoors and the only cure is living in the mountains, Bozeman in southern Montana is just what the doctor ordered. Yellowstone and Grand Teton National Park are south of Bozeman, and Butte isn't too far away in case you feel the need to visit the World Museum of Mining. It's there in Butte. I wonder why the world decided to put their mining museum here. I can think of more popular mining towns. Probably get a hell of a lot more foot traffic into the mining museum if they were, say, someplace like New York City, but they put it in Butte. The landscape and scenery should tell you should be comfortable with hiking, mountain biking, skiing, and hearing stories about the world of mining. Hunting and fishing are extremely popular in Bozeman, Montana. Now, like I said, it's getting a little expensive, and the cost of living for retirees is about 1.6% above the national average, so it's a little bit higher than some of the other ones on this list. The share of the population that's between 45 and 64 is 24%. But I did read another stat that said the percentage of the population between 45 and 55, a little bit younger, is 38% of the population. So yeah, that just shows you they like to be outdoors there. It's a little easier to do when you're a little bit younger. Number 5, Omaha, Nebraska. Omaha has 914,000 people. They're almost getting to 1 million. And that almost 1 million people like a slow type of lifestyle. That's how it is in Omaha. If you can get past the potential boredom, Omaha is perfect. I have an uncle who's retired. He just likes to read, watch TV, go on a couple cruises each year, maybe hit Vegas. He doesn't need hiking trails or places to rent ATVs. Actually, he really doesn't need hiking trails. He lost part of his foot in the Nam. But for people like that, I mean, with or without a whole foot, doesn't matter. Omaha is for you. They have a touch more crime than you'd expect from a city in Nebraska, but it's not crazy. Now, this is where we normally get someone disputing the crime and saying it's really bad, and it's always some kid trying to gain a little street cred via the YouTube comment section. You have crime. It's not crazy. Stop typing. It's not off the hook. Not ghetto in Omaha, Nebraska, okay? Knock it off. Anyway, the percentage of the population that's between 45 and 64 is just about 25%, and the cost of living for retirees is about 4% below the national average. Not bad. Number 4, Savannah, Georgia. Savannah has about 377,000 residents, and most of them are extremely polite. Don't know what their deal is. They're just really nice and really friendly. Now, this is where we get to my favorite southern city, and part of it is because they're really polite. Savannah, Georgia is amazing. This is one of the best coastal cities for anyone, even more so for retirees. Georgia already has a low cost of living, but they take a few steps forward for the retirement crowd. This is a very inexpensive state to live in, and Savannah's no different. Especially what's weird about this one, it's not that costly to live here, and it's right on the ocean. It's strange. It's an anomaly. Savannah is a great place to live. This historic Georgia city offers beautiful architecture, including old school American classic town square. It's right there for you, and the riverfront walk area, it looks like you step back in time. It's just awesome. Anyway, you can also enjoy the different restaurants, museums, theaters, all that stuff in downtown Savannah. Honestly, walk in the downtown area any evening, and the smell of the place will make you gain 5 pounds. The food in Savannah is unbeatable. 24% of the population of Savannah is between 45 and 64, and the cost of living for retirees is 10% below the national average. Like I said, for a coastal town, that's amazing. Number 3, Pierre, South Dakota. Pierre is one of the least populated state capitals in the nation. With 21,956 people, it's almost not a capital city, but a capital town. South Dakota is an amazing place to live, and it is consistently a top state for retirement. It's low cost of living, tax friendliness, and economically the state is in good shape. Sure, the tariffs are hurting a little bit in the farming area, but the financial services, data rooms, digital asset management, and the tourism companies continue to grow and contribute to the state's job growth. This means if you are retired and you want a part-time job or something, Pierre's gonna have it for you. On top of that, it's like hard not to know everyone in Pierre after living there a week. It's a very small city. Just like all small cities, you start to know everyone. There's good and there's bad about that, but if you like knowing everyone, Pierre is probably the best place for you. And you also got the Missouri River running right through town, so that'll keep you busy. 28% of the residents in Pierre are between 45 and 64, so a lot of friends to do things with. Cost of living here is about 3% below the national average for retirees. So again, solid. Number 2, Portland, Maine. So this is one of the more expensive cities on this list, Portland, Maine. Not to be confused with Portland, Oregon. And cue the liberal hellhole comments. Yes, we understand. Portland, Oregon represents all that ails this country, what with their Antifa, beer, and their strip clubs. Yes, we get it. Let it go. We hear it all the time in the comment section. So I guess we read it all the time in the comment section, to be more specific. Portland, Maine is nothing like those sinners out in Oregon. They're actually completely different. Side note, Portland, Oregon was actually named after Portland, Maine. Yeah. It was a coin toss. It was going to either be Portland, Oregon or Boston, Oregon. Portland won the coin toss. Anyway, the largest city in Maine, Portland, offers a great place to live at any age, but really pushes it up a notch or two for the retired crowd. They have a great downtown and plenty of big city features surrounded by the great outdoors of the Pine Tree State. Portland gives you beaches without old dudes in banana hammocks like Florida, so that's a serious plus. If you've ever seen that, you won't recover. Now, if you're an older dude in a banana hammock, stop it. Knock it off. Nobody needs to see that. Anyway, Portland also has all the seasons, so it's not just summer all the time. Summer all the time sounds like a great plan until you've had summer all the time. Then you get kind of sick of it. Some people don't, but most people do. Now, like I said, they are more expensive than most on this list, but they have a great 45 to 65 crowd, with 34% of the population being that age range. And the population from 35 to 45 crowd is about the same, so the place is silly with your types. The cost of living for retirees is about 17% above the national average. So like I said, they're a little high, but they don't have bad crime stats, and the people are decent to each other. So Portland, Maine would probably be my choice. And number 1, Sherman, Texas. Sherman, Texas has a population of about 130,000 residents. They enjoy warm summers and kind of, calm winters. This small Texas city is a little bit north of Dallas near the Oklahoma border, and it's just about on the Red River. It is among the cheapest cities to live in the country. Housing costs are extremely low, at almost 30% below the national average. The median home value in Sherman is about $105,000 compared to the rest of Texas, which is about $151,000. Another great thing about Sherman, it's growing. It's gained 2,000 to 3,000 people every census since 1980. As a matter of fact, they've grown at least 4% every census since 1850, when they had 35 people and a mule. They eventually took the mule off the report because they found out he was an ass. Yes! Comedy gold right there, everyone. I'll be here all week. Don't forget your waitress. Nature lovers will also love this place. It's got a 12,000-acre national wildlife refuge. They have some lakes in the area with good fishing, and the before-mentioned Red River's right there, too. Sherman, I would probably move to if I was in the retirement situation, if I like the heat. That's their only drawback to someone like me, is the heat. Quiet little town with a nice little downtown area. That Texas downtown area where the buildings look, I wouldn't say
They look rustic. That's the best way to explain it. But the percentage of the population here is sort of what gets them on the list. Between 45 to 64, it's about 30% of the population. And that's a good number. And then when you have a 64 and above, that's about another 10% of the population. And the 35 to 45 is about another 20% of the population. So there's not a whole lot of young people here. It's the 35 and above is, the crowd here. Anyway, the cost of living for retirees here is about 14% below the national average, which again, solid numbers. Sherman, Texas is the best place to retire early.
Okay, these are the kinds that I really like. Finding hidden gems for people. And this one we did a few years back. It's called Overlooked Retirement Cities in the US. Let's take a look.
Today I'm going to tell you about 10 often overlooked places to retire. Everyone knows about retirement in Florida and Sun City, Arizona. Those are always in the conversations about the best places to retire. Most of the time, those places come into play because of weather. A majority of retirees have weather as their number one requirement for spending their golden years. If weather isn't all that important to you, there are some really good options that are often overlooked. This video isn't just about the weather and retirement. It is about great places to retire that aren't the normal places people look to when they're thinking about retirement. We'll also be looking at the healthcare in these cities, the cost of living, and life expectancy. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 10, Lynchburg, Virginia. Lynchburg, Virginia is a charming little city right between Richmond and Roanoke. Actually, it's not too far away from Farmville. Remember that game from Facebook years back? There's a real place called Farmville. But Lynchburg is right in the middle of the state, and it is home to a couple decent universities, Liberty University and the University of Lynchburg. It also has the James River flowing right by the northeast side of town. They got a couple really cool lakes in the area. One that I've been to is Smith Mountain Lake. Now, this was years ago. We had a good time there. It was a lot of fun. Of course, we were drinking and there was a whole bunch of college girls there, so it was a good time. And I was about that age too, as in the military. I don't hear no crap about, hey, Briggs, what are you doing hanging out with the college girls? You're like 50. This was years and years ago. Anyway, Lynchburg is a great city. Very historic, beautiful. I love the way it kind of has, there's trees everywhere. It's very forested, and as soon as you get outside of one of the neighborhoods, you're pretty much in the woods. You're not going to run into a whole bunch of traffic, and there's plenty of stuff to do here in retirement. It's not expensive either. Here's the stats. The cost of living in Lynchburg is 12% lower than the national average, and healthcare costs are 2% lower than the national average. That's pretty good. On top of that, the life expectancy in Virginia is 77.6 years. The lowest life expectancy is Mississippi with 71 years, and the highest is Hawaii with 80.7 years. So Virginia's doing pretty good with 77 years. The only negative to this one is it gets some pretty rough winters, so just keep that in mind. And they got a little crime. It's only 3% higher than the national average. And yes, it's horrible when it's above the national average. 3% is not much. Like I've said many times before, you got places like Detroit and St. Louis where it's 300% and 400% above the national average. Number 9, Prescott, Arizona. North of Phoenix in the hills, you have Prescott. And if you're not familiar with this place, it looks like it should be called Prescott, but it's not. And if you call it Prescott while you're in Prescott, they're going to climb all up your butt. And not in a good way. It's like how the locals know when someone's not from the area by the way you pronounce the town. This is a place that's big with retired cops. I kid you not. Prescott has been growing since the 1930s. The last time they had a census that was in the negative was 1920s, and since then they've only had 2 decades where they only gained single-digit percentage points. That was in 1940 and 1970. Every other year, it's like 20, 15, 45, 33%. In 1960, they had 90% growth. They've got a lot of new construction, I'd say within the last decade, and it's still growing. And most of it is retirees. So one of the negatives here, if you're a retiree that's going to want a job in retirement, something to do, there are not many of them. Spend your time hiking, golfing, and I don't know, trying to grow stuff in the desert. The winters here don't get terribly cold. It does get cold in the desert, but we're not talking Minnesota cold, What you got to worry about here is the rain. They get some serious flooding, flash floods, all that good stuff. It'll scare you. But this is not a bad place to live, especially if you're someone that wants some heat. You're away from all that Sun City and Phoenix and Tucson. You're up here in the hills. It's a little less of a city lifestyle. Now, here's what's weird. Arizona overall has a lower than average healthcare cost. In Prescott, it's a little bit higher than Arizona's average, but it's still 6% lower than the national average. The life expectancy in Prescott is 76.3 years. Wear some sunblock if you're there. Number 8, Traverse City, Michigan. This is another one. I like to call it Traverse. I've also called it Traverse. The reason for that gets people to leave comments. Not saying I've never made a mistake, but come on, it's Michigan. Those people love to get their dander up over the stupidest crap. Traverse City is a great city, especially during the summer. It's Michigan. The winters are going to be rough, but this is a beautiful lake town. They only have a population of about 16,000 residents, with about 153,000 in the entire metro area. So it's good size, but it's still not terribly crowded. It sits on the southern shore of both arms of the Traverse Bay, which is connected to Lake Michigan. And I mean, if those lakes don't float your boat, they got plenty of other ones in the area. Now, this city is often overlooked because of its winters, and during the summers it does get a little crowded with tourists and stuff like that, but it's a really nice city. If you live here and you need medical care, Munson Medical Center is the flagship hospital for the region. This is a good sized facility with everything you're going to need, and it gets good grades in just about everything. The cost of living in Traverse City is 3% lower than the national average. Their healthcare costs are 5% lower, and life expectancy here is 76.7 years. It's much lower if you move there and continue calling it Traverse City. Number 7, Athens, Ohio. Settle down, settle down. There are nice places in Ohio to move to. Most of you have never heard of Athens, Ohio. I had never heard of it until probably 3 years ago. A subscriber asked me if I would find out some information on the city because they were thinking about moving there. Athens is nestled in the Appalachian foothills. It's got a nice little downtown too. Oddly enough, they don't have as many open storefronts, meaning vacant shops, as a lot of other Ohio towns do. This is also where you will find the Hocking River, which wraps almost all the way around town, and Ohio University. If you're looking for it on a map, it is southeast of Columbus. Again, here's the disclaimer. Ohio has horrible winters, just like any place else in this part of the country. Now, when I say horrible winters, I'm talking to people that are maybe from the desert states, California, things like that. I'm sure if you come down to Ohio from Maine, you're all, oh, this is kind of nice. One of the best things about Athens, Ohio is the cost of living. It's pretty low, so it's definitely a budget-friendly option for retirees. Here's the stats. The cost of living in Athens, Ohio is 9% lower than the national average. Their healthcare costs are 12% lower, and the average life expectancy here is 76.8 years. Number 6, Cheyenne, Wyoming. Again, cold but beautiful, and if you don't like people and you kind of want to be in a small town, which is at the same time a city, there are some places like that in this country that do that. They're a city, they've got, 20, 40, 60,000 people, but it really feels like a small town. Cheyenne is one of those. Cheyenne has 65,000 residents. That was in 2020. And I think they've dropped a little bit. They've had a touch of a slowdown after about 60 years of growth. Not much of one. In 2022, they lost 0.8% of their population. That's not terrible. If it continues 3 or 4 years like that, it's called a trend and people start looking into it. Even though they're shedding people, their real estate prices are still going up a little bit. Over the last year, they've almost grown 1%, while most of the country is dropping like 5 and 6%. If you're thinking about moving there, definitely talk to a realtor before you make any hard plans. But if you want to live that Western style life, Cheyenne's a good option. And of all the demographics moving there, it's retirees. Here's the numbers. The cost of living in Cheyenne is 2% lower than the national average. Not bad. Their healthcare is 8% lower than the national average, and their average life expectancy is 76.8 years. Number 5, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Coeur d'Alene has been very popular. Much like Prescott, a lot of retired cops are moving there. Coeur d'Alene is a lake town. It sits on Lake Coeur d'Alene. It's where the Spokane River empties into it. The city itself has a population of about 54,000 residents, and the entire metro area is only about 170,000. So it's really not that big of a place. I had thought people had kind of lost interest in it. I'd heard about it all the time. Everyone was moving to Coeur d'Alene back like 5-6 years ago. Then everyone quit talking about it. I looked at the statistics and no, they're still growing at a fast pace. If you want to retire in the Pacific Northwest, this is probably one of your best options. And yes, Idaho is part of the Pacific Northwest, even though it's not on the Pacific. Coeur d'Alene is a popular place to move, so there's a couple things here that surprise me. Number one, its cost of living isn't terrible, and their real estate isn't terrible. Here's the stats. The cost of living in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho is 2% above the national average. Like I said, for a popular place, they're doing pretty good. We haven't been really talking about it much here, but their real estate prices, only 5% higher than the national average. That's not bad. That's probably going to change at the end of next quarter because they're still growing while the rest of the country is, most of the country, I should say, is still dropping in real estate price. I would say by the end of the year, they're going to end up being about 10% higher than the national average. Their healthcare is only 2% above the national average, and their life expectancy is 78.4 years. What really gets them on this list is life expectancy, tons of things to do, and it's a beautiful city. Number 4, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Sioux Falls is right where South Dakota, Minnesota, and Iowa meet. And it's a great place for retirees. Plenty of golf, affordable, great hospitals, friendly people, nice parks, great museums, and a bustling downtown area. I rarely use the word bustling, but I think it's appropriate here. Let's all say it together. Bustling. I don't know. I feel awkward saying that. Any words you feel awkward saying? Let me know in the comment section below. If you're going to move to the Dakotas, I would suggest South Dakota. They both get some pretty harsh winters, but North Dakota, a little extra harsh up there. I read a book one time about, just people moving west in the early days. I forget the term the guy used, but he said North Dakota gets so cold, only chubby people survive. It was something to that effect. I thought it was pretty funny. All right, here's the numbers. The cost of living in Sioux Falls, South Dakota is 11% lower than the national average. Not bad. Their healthcare is 4% lower, and the life expectancy here is 76.9 years on average. Number 3, Santa Fe, New Mexico. I've mentioned it before, but of all the desert-ish type states, if I was going to move to one, it would be Santa Fe, New Mexico. I like my rain, I like my trees, and I like wet soil, but there's just something about Santa Fe, New Mexico that's just amazing. I love that city. Santa Fe is a pretty good-sized city with a population of 87,000 residents, with the entire metro area having about 154,000. If you want to move to a city and not really have to worry about gardening, Santa Fe might be the place for you. Nobody has a lawn here. They have small trees and scrub brush. You have to trim those back every once in a while, but that's like once a year, once every other year if you're lazy, but definitely no mowing the yard. Here's the stats. The cost of living in Santa Fe, New Mexico is 3% higher than the national average. It's a nice place to live, so it's going to be a little more expensive than the average, but 3% is not bad. You get a little bit of a break on healthcare. That's 4% lower than the national average, and the life expectancy here is 74.5 years. Number 2, Columbia, Missouri. Yes, put your teeth back in your mouth. I said Columbia, Missouri. They have great healthcare here, and it is extremely affordable. This is great for retirees on a budget. And home prices are pretty affordable too. In second quarter 2023, the median home price in Columbia was $271,000. Now they are climbing, but they're still pretty low. The median home price in the United States is like $420,000 right now. I've seen different numbers, but it's somewhere between $420,000 and $450,000. If you're looking for Columbia on a map, it is right between Kansas City and St. Louis, with the Missouri River flowing west of town. I had dinner on an Amtrak train with a couple from Columbia. They spoke very highly of the town. They said it's got a little bit of crime, but they loved it. That was the same trip. It was weirdest thing. So we're crossing the Mississippi River, and for some reason the train got stuck on the bridge that goes across Mississippi River. So I'm in my little room on the train, and I look out the window, and right below me, a couple feet, there's a little shack that has, it's attached to the bridge. I'm sure it has something to do with the operation of the bridge. Anyway, the door opens while I'm looking at it, and a little person comes out. Like, a little man. We lock eyes. He flips me off and goes back in the hut. Is that why he came out of the hut? To flip me off? If you've never had that happen to you, it's life-changing. I was really bummed that the train window doesn't go down because I had some really good jokes about living under a bridge for him, but yeah, I couldn't yell him. He wouldn't have heard me, and the people in the room next to me would have thought I was insane, yelling at a closed window. All right, let's get to the stats. The cost of living in Columbia, Missouri is 5% lower than the national average. Their healthcare, 2% lower, and their life expectancy, 75.2 years. And number 1, Iowa City, Iowa. Iowa City is a charming college town with a vibrant cultural scene. There's another word I never use, vibrant. It's a college town, so you know they got a good beer scene too. This town kind of has this mix of historic charm, outdoor recreation, and obviously educational opportunities. So if you're retiring and you want to go back and take some courses at the community college or the college, it's there for you. They have solid healthcare here with the University of Iowa hospitals, and then they got a bunch of clinics along with that. Not a bad place to live. Low crime rate, affordable, and a pretty good life expectancy. Here's the numbers. The cost of living in Iowa City, Iowa is 2% lower than the national average. Their healthcare is 9% lower. And their life expectancy is 77.5 years. But if you're looking to buy a home here, the median home price here is $280,000, and that's up 10% from last year.
This one is about smaller cities where retirement is starting to get more popular, and it's golden retirement spots outside of Florida and Arizona. I get asked for that one a lot. Outside of Florida and Arizona, where should I retire? All the time. Roll the video. When it comes to retirement, Florida and Arizona are often the glittering jewels of promise with their warm weather, endless golf courses, and the dream of never having to scrape ice off your windshield again. But let's face it, not everyone is cut out for a life of perpetual sunshine and shuffleboard. Some retirees are seeking adventure, cultural enrichment, or just something different from the stereotypical sunshine retirement. I'm one of them, not a big fan of too much sunshine. Today we look at some of those options with 10 great cities to retire in, none of which are in Florida or Arizona. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 10, Fargo, North Dakota. That's right, I said Fargo, North Dakota. Put your teeth back in your mouth, Ethel. When you think of retirement, why not think of endless stretches of tundra and a population that treats parkas like formal wear? Yeah, that's what's going on in North Dakota. And Fargo is a very cold place in North Dakota. Forget about mild winters. Their weather makes men and sometimes freezes men to the front seat of their truck. But people still love Fargo for retirement. Why not? It's a great place with great healthcare and it's affordable. See, sunshine is great and all that, but some people can't afford Florida and Arizona for retirement. That draws a good amount of people to places like Fargo. Plus, the city's legendary friendliness means you'll always have someone to chat, whether you like it or not. Even though Fargo is cold and not as appealing as Florida and Arizona, a lot of people choose Fargo for cost and some other stats. The livability score in Fargo is 84, which if you don't know about that, anything above 65 is okay. When you get above 75, it's great. This is 84. About 12.5% of Fargo's population is 65 or older. The national average is about 10. Fargo has approximately 10 to 15 retirement communities. Now, there's a lot that goes into that one. Some closed, some open, and different places have different reports on how many there are. But 10 to 15 good-sized retirement communities. The average home value here is $296,000. Number 9, St. George, Utah. St. George is a great place for someone that wants to live a nice, wholesome retirement, but occasionally want to go across the border to Nevada and do some gambling. St. George is about 40 minutes from Mesquite, Nevada. Along that route, you're going to have to cut a little corner of Arizona, and you'll go by things like the Virgin River and the Beaver Dam. I'm not kidding, they're right next to each other. And that's not too far away from where Thelma and Louise drove off that cliff in the movie. Yeah, you can go see where that is. St. George, though, is a great place to live. They have a livability score of 80. About 17.5% of St. George's population is 65 years or older. St. George has approximately 20 to 25 retirement communities, and the average home value is $509,000. Number 8, Anchorage, Alaska. If you are truly an adventurous retiree, Anchorage is calling you. Why settle for beach sunsets when you have an opportunity to see the northern lights? Sure, it's cold and you might be run over by a moose, but at least you don't have to worry about hurricanes. I'd rather come face to face with a moose instead of an alligator any day. Or one of many, many snakes they have in Arizona. Now, there are a lot of reasons to move to Alaska in retirement, especially if you like to fish. That's one of the biggest reasons, or just people that like to be outdoors. They also get a yearly stipend, which is nice just to live there, and they're pretty friendly when it comes to the different things about retirement in the state. They have a livability score of 78. About 8.4% of Anchorage's population is 65 years or older. They've got 10 to 15 retirement homes, and the average home value is about $375,000. There's a lot of other solid places for retirement in Alaska. Anchorage is just a pretty decent one. Number 7, Minneapolis, Minnesota. If you're into the idea of trading humidity for culture, Minneapolis is your place. This city offers an impressive array of cultural attractions, including the Walker Art Center and the Minneapolis Institute of Art. And with countless parks and lakes, you'll quickly forget about the palm trees and the sandy beaches. The main reason people move to Minneapolis is the healthcare and family. A lot of families live in the Minneapolis metro area. Maybe not downtown itself, but the surrounding cities, they're really great places to raise a family. And people like to be closer to their family as they get older. It's what we do. Sure, they have brutal winters, but like we've already established, some people don't mind. Just my personal opinion without any real stats, I would say about 25% of the population hates living places where they really don't have a serious change in the seasons. Any type of weather can wear you down no matter what type of weather it is, if it stays too long. But people move to Minneapolis for a whole bunch of reasons. Like I said, family, cost of living is low, great healthcare. They have a livability score of 78. About 10.7% of Minneapolis population is 65 years or older. Minneapolis, along with the surrounding area, has about 30 to 40 retirement communities. The average home value is $328,000. Number 6, Louisville, Kentucky. For retirement with a side of bourbon, Louisville is the place to be. You could spend your golden years sipping the finest spirits, enjoying the famed Kentucky Derby, and indulging in some of the best Southern cuisine around. Just think about the stories you'll have to share over a glass of Kentucky's finest. If you don't know, Kentucky makes some of the best bourbon in the world. Again, Kentucky is a place that has really good healthcare, and a lot of it is around the Louisville area, or Louisville. Just so you know, if you're not from there and you ever do move there and you call it Louisville or Louisville, the locals are going to look at you side-eyed. Some of them like it because then they know you're not from there. We don't talk enough about Kentucky cities or the state of Kentucky on this channel. I'm really starting to warm up to it a little bit. They're really doing some good things. I just briefly read an article while I was on waiting for a flight the other day about how their state government is one of the most, they're getting along better than most other state governments. Both sides, both parties, they're getting stuff done for the people. I'm not there. I'm not living in Louisville. I hope that's how it is. That being said, the livability score in Louisville, Kentucky is 68. Not the highest on this list, but it's pretty good. About 15.6% of Louisville's population is over the age of 65. They have about 30 to 40 retirement communities, and the average home goes for about $243,000. So it's affordable. They do get patches of rough weather, but nothing as bad as Fargo or Minneapolis. Number 5, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The Steel City may not have palm trees, but it does have a rich history and a thriving cultural scene. They also have some pretty good beer. From its renowned universities and hospitals to its beautiful riverside views and sports fanaticism. Yes, if you are a sports fan, move to Pittsburgh. These people lose it for the baseball team, the Pirates, the Steelers, their football team, and the Penguins, which is in the NHL. I want to go see a University of Pittsburgh game, Pitt. I want to see it there and their stadium. I've always have. In the last, I would say 5 to 10 years, Pittsburgh has become more and more popular, not just with retirees, with younger people. It's affordable, homes are affordable, it's not terribly bad when it comes to crime or bad neighborhoods, and I'm comparing that to other cities in the United States. Every time I mention that, someone's going to go, no, it's so much worse now. Okay, every city's worse to someone than it used to be. That's what time does. Prices rise, crime rises. Buildings get worn down. That's how the world works. Every few decades, they have a rebirth. Things get a little bit better in most cases. But Pittsburgh is a perfect example of a city that's on the rise. They have a livability score of 84. There's about 16.5% of Pittsburgh's population being 65 or older. Pittsburgh has around 40 to 50 retirement communities, and the average home goes for about $239,000. That is not bad. I could not live there. I'm a Cleveland Browns fan, and I believe it is illegal for me to live in Pittsburgh. Number 4, Omaha, Nebraska. For retirement that's more Field of Dreams than Golden Girls, consider Omaha. Known for its friendly residents and surprisingly lively art scene, Omaha offers the charm of the Midwest without the tourist traps. That's the truth. It's a good place to live, but they're really not drawing in a bunch of tourists. They do have some things, but nothing major. The one thing that sticks out to me is the Henry Doorly Zoo. This is one of the best zoos in the country. Some people aren't into zoos. I am. I really enjoy them. They do a lot of research and it's fun to go look at the animals. This is one of the best ones I've ever been to. Omaha is another city that's becoming more and more popular with the retirement crowd. The weather here isn't horrible and it is affordable, so it's kind of like a happy medium. They have a livability score of 84. About 12.6% of Omaha's population is 65 years or older. They have 25 to 30 retirement communities. That's a lot. The average home here goes for about $286,000. Number 3, Burlington, Vermont. Yep, we're heading north again to Burlington. You know, if you could retire in New England, you definitely saved some money or did pretty well for yourself. It's an expensive place to live, but it is beautiful. And again, this is one of those places that a lot of people will retire to get closer to family. From 2011 to 2017, the retirement crowd was getting smaller in Burlington. And in 2018, it started coming back up. Slowly, nothing major, but it's coming back up. But if you like your retirement with a side of maple syrup and stunning autumn foliage, Burlington should be your first round draft pick. This is a charming city that offers a relaxed pace of life, gorgeous scenery, and a community that embraces outdoor activities year-round. And yes, there's a lot of people that would prefer a nice cozy coffee shop to a beach. Burlington is definitely one of those places that you gotta have some money to retire. This place is not cheap, but it is cute, it is charming, it's a nice place to live. Burlington has a livability score of 76. Around 13.4% of Burlington's population is 65 years or older. Burlington has about 10 to 15 retirement communities, and the average home value is about $526,000. Number 2, Albuquerque, New Mexico. Albuquerque, you know, it's not the best city, but it is affordable and it is a major city. Trade in your flip-flops for hiking boots and head to Albuquerque. With its rich cultural heritage, vibrant art scene, and breathtaking mountains, this city offers a retirement filled with exploration and adventure. That's something I read off one of their websites. And with over 300 days of sunshine each year, you won't miss Florida's weather at all. I mean, there's next to no humidity. Sure, there's no palm trees and no beaches, but that ain't everyone's cup of tea. Albuquerque has a livability score of 76, and about 14.5% of Albuquerque's population is 65 years or older. The average home value is about $333,000. It's not bad. And number 1, Boise, Idaho. Yep, Boise, Idaho. It's not just for 30-year-olds, it's for everyone. Boise is becoming more and more popular. It had a little bit of a lull, I would say, around 2020, 21. Maybe that had to do with the pandemic, I don't know. It just seemed to drop a little bit lower than other cities, but they're right back at it, just pulling them in from far and wide. The California influx has slowed down. I mean, Californians are still moving to Boise and Idaho in general, but it's slowed down a little bit. They're starting to see more from Colorado, Washington, and the Great Plains area. But if your idea of a perfect retirement includes potatoes, you'll be in heaven in Boise. Not only does Boise offer a surprisingly mild climate, but it also has some of the most stunning natural landscapes in the country. Let's face it, everyone wants to know all they can about a place where potatoes outnumber the people. Boise, Idaho has a livability score of 84. I mean, they've got pretty good stats all the way across the board. Approximately 13.8% of Boise's population is 65 years or older. They have about 25 to 30 retirement communities, and the average home value is $491,000. That's not too far off of the national average. And it's an attractive place to live. So, I mean, there's places that suck that'll get you a house about the same price or more. This is another one I did 2 years ago called Secret Retirement Towns. These were towns that people don't want word to get out that it's a great place to retire. They actually are actively, in some cases, trying to dissuade people from retiring there. It's weird. Today we look at retirement spots not everyone knows about. I get emails and comments all the time from people wanting to know about places to retire that aren't your stereotypical retirement towns. Not everyone wants the heat of Arizona and Florida. Not everyone can afford Hawaii and California. Arizona and Florida do have towns on this list, but they're not your typical spots that everyone knows about. This list gives you other options to look at and why. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 10, Tarpon Springs, Florida. Along Florida's Gulf Coast, Tarpon Springs is a sun-soaked haven where Greek culture and American bayous meet. Located in the Tampa, St. Petersburg, Clearwater metro area, this is a cross between coastal tranquility and big city convenience. The town's picturesque waterfront with bayous leading into the Gulf make it an idyllic spot for retirees looking for a more laid-back yet connected lifestyle. It's known as the sponge capital of the world, and apparently they got a lot of sponges in the water here. When I first read that, I thought it was too many grandparents had their 20-year-old grandkids living with them. Not working, just hanging out. But Tarpon Springs is rich in Greek heritage with numerous restaurants, shops, and cultural events. This is one of those towns where they give it a other country feel, like you got Leavenworth up in Washington State, which looks like a Bavarian village, Solvang down in California. I know there's a couple Scandinavian-themed ones up in Minnesota, in Wisconsin maybe. This is one of those, and it's a pretty cool one too. The city offers plenty of recreational activities from boating to fishing and enjoying beautiful parks like Fred Howard Park and Sunset Beach. If you want to move here and buy a piece of property, the average home value is around $429,000, which is mid-year 2024. The cost of living is reasonable for a coastal city with so many different things to do, makes it a very attractive option for those seeking a more affordable yet active retirement, I guess. Tarpon Springs' mild winters and warm summers combined with a lower than average crime rate create a safe and appealing environment for just about anyone, not just retirees. The climate, with the coldest month being January with temperatures hovering around 61 degrees Fahrenheit, and then the highest is July, and that's pretty much in the 80s. It's perfect weather for people that like to be outdoors year-round. It's really hard to beat the lifestyle you can have in Tarpon Springs for the price. Now, there are far cheaper places to retire, obviously, but we're giving all your options here. If you want to buy a house here, like I'd said, it's around $429,000. That's the average. They go way up, and there's some that you can get maybe around $300,000 that need a lot of work. Number 9, Eagle, Colorado. Eagle, Colorado isn't just a spot on the map. It's a hidden gem deep in the Rockies, not too far from Glenwood Springs. While I was researching this one, this area is known as the Banana Belt portion of Colorado. What's strange is they've got a couple different banana belts, but this is the one up in the Rockies. This is a nice little town. It's been years since I went through there, but they got the Eagle River that goes right through town, and then they have this park where you can go kayaking in. It's really a nice place to live. Don't get too excited, even though it's known as the Banana Belt. There's no actual bananas growing here. If you're into outdoor stuff, this Eagle's like Disneyland for outdoor people. If Disneyland had more bikes, skis, and hiking boots, with an extensive network of bike trails, picturesque parks, and golf courses that practically beg for you to get on them. It's not just the charm and the fresh air of the Rockies. It's the endless recreational opportunities here. Eagle is a fantastic place to retire, especially if you're looking for that sweet spot of safety, community, and access to quality healthcare. The Vail Valley Medical Center and its satellite facilities are right here for you. Now, this one is not cheap. Right now, they say the median home value is about $990,000. That's a lot of money. That's the median. The average home value is about a little over $1 million. So it's not too far off from the median. So Eagle is a great place to live. Great scenery, a lot of things to do, low crime. It's just expensive. Number 8, Fairbanks, Alaska. Yeah, we're going to the other side of things. Nestled in the frosty embrace of Alaska's interior, Fairbanks is a city that stands proudly as the second largest metro area in the state of Alaska. With its prime location about 150 miles south of the Arctic Circle, yeah, not everyone's going to consider that a prime location, but some people do. It's as close as you can get to Santa's workshop without actually getting hired on as an elf. Fairbanks might be tucked away in the wilderness, but it's far from isolated thanks to its strategic position along the Alaskan Railroad and the Alaskan Highway. These transportation marvels not only brought the city to life, but also ensured that the residents could always flee to warmer climates. Fairbanks is the sort of place where nature puts on a show for you year-round. In the summer, the midnight sun graces is the city with 24 hours of daylight, making it entirely possible to lose track of time and end up mowing your lawn at 3 a.m. Why not? I used to have an elderly man on, like, right down the street from my parents' house, and we found him a couple times mowing his lawn at like 1:30 a.m. and stuff like it. It's weird. Now that I look back, he probably, had dementia or something like that. Who knows? But the winter is when Fairbanks really shines. Literally, the aurora borealis or northern lights can be seen dancing across the sky up to 200 nights a year, turning even the mundane dog walk into a celestial adventure. I mean, if you move to Fairbanks, you have front row seats to nature. That's all there is to it. It's no wonder Fairbanks serves as the key hub to exploring Alaskans' wilderness, including the nearby Denali National Park. Fairbanks is a good-sized city with about 32,000 people living in the city. This is 2020 numbers. And in total, about 95,000 in the metro area. They got a lot of small communities outside of downtown Fairbanks. But if you're one of those people that you don't want Florida, you don't want Arizona, you want some place that's a little smaller and away from everyone, this is a great place. Fairbanks offers a cozy and affordable slice of Arctic paradise. Who knew living just a snowball's throw away from the Arctic Circle could be so warm and welcoming? If you want to buy a home here, the average home value in Fairbanks is about $302,000. Yeah, about a third less than Eagle, Colorado. Number 7, Hendersonville, North Carolina. In the western nook of North Carolina, just a leisurely 22 miles from Asheville, lies the charming town of Hendersonville. This one's up in the mountains, and it's offering a climate that is kind of a breath of fresh air, or cool air compared to the rest of the state, I should say. In the summer months, while the rest of North Carolina sweats it out, Henderson remains kind of cool, making it a magnet for people like me who prefer their summers without a side of sticky humidity. The Blue Ridge Mountains provide a stunning backdrop, almost as if Mother Nature decided that this town needed some dramatic flair. If you know anything about this part of North Carolina, being outdoors is a big thing here. They've got a couple national forests just a stone's throw away. The options for hiking, horseback riding, and fishing are plentiful, and they got a bunch of local diners, which I kind of found that strange. I didn't expect it the first time I went through there. The town is dotted with golf courses and parks, making it a haven for retirees who aren't quite ready to swap in their tennis shoes for slippers. And then there's the downtown, where stately Victorian homes line the tree-shaded streets, offering a perfect blend of historical charm and modern convenience. That's what I like about this place. East Coast cities are so much nicer, even towns. They maintain those old buildings more. Out here in the West, it's fairly new. And if you needed any more reason to pack your bags and head to Hendersonville, consider this. The town practically rolls out the red carpet for retirees, with more doctors' offices and retirement centers per capita than you could shake a walking stick at. It's no wonder Hendersonville is considered a retiree-friendly city. Add in a low tax burden, and you've got a recipe for financial comfort that even the most frugal retirees can appreciate. The average home value in Hendersonville is about $422,000. Number 6, Fredericksburg, Texas. This is another one of those American cities that's sort of themed after a European-style city. This little gem is about 70 miles west of Austin and just about as far north from San Antonio. So it's a perfect place if, you don't want to be around a big city, but there's one there in case you need it. This town is a perfect blend of small-town charm where everyone knows your name and your favorite bratwurst is there for you. Fredericksburg is practically the Germany of Texas, minus the icy winters and plus a whole lot of southern hospitality. These people are into their German heritage, and you could see it everywhere, from the half-timbered architecture to the sauerkraut specials at the local diners. The folks here don't just celebrate Oktoberfest, they live it. And then Christmas rolls around, and all the markets open, and it's like a Bavarian wonderland. But Fredericksburg isn't just about beer steins and bratwurst. It's also about top-notch healthcare and cushy retirement living, with the Hill County Memorial Hospital ready to nurse all of your hangover needs, or, actual ailments. Now, the cost of living in Fredericksburg might be a tad bit higher than the national average, with the average home value being around $543,000. But if you could swing that, there's a lot of stress-free living here. Number 5, Savannah, Georgia. Savannah, Georgia, where retirees go to find their second wind in a city that's old but never gets old. Savannah is located on the southeastern coast of the Peach State. This charming city sits like a jewel beside the Savannah River. And you're not too far from the Atlantic Ocean, which sometimes means hurricanes, but I don't think they've been hit with one in a long time. With a subtropical climate and cost of living that can be substantial, Savannah might just be the retirement haven for you if you got a little money. Savannah's a great place for people that kind of want to go to Florida, but they don't want to go to Florida. It's not too far away to the south, but far enough away from Jacksonville that you don't have to worry about it. Actually, if you'd need to go to a bigger city, I would choose Charleston, which is north of Savannah, Charleston, South Carolina, in a heartbeat before Jacksonville. One of our subscribers lives in Savannah, and he's retired. He was telling me through messaging on Facebook that he goes to the art college there. They've got all kinds of classes and programs for retirees and older folks. The Savannah College of Art and Design is there for you, I guess. But for those of you that think retirement means unlimited time for hobbies, Savannah delivers that for you. More than just shuffleboard and bingo. Imagine starting your morning with a leisurely walk through the city's historic district, one of the largest in the U.S., where every corner is dripping with history, architectural beauty, and probably some leftover Spanish moss. A lot of that goes on around there. Golf courses, fishing spots, and walking trails are scattered like confetti throughout the city. And if you're feeling adventurous, you can go boating. Savannah's climate is like a hug from a slightly overzealous grandma, cozy, comforting, and persistent. With winters that hover around low 60s and summers that flirt with the low 90s. They do get some stretches where it gets pretty hot, but it's really not terrible. Put it this way, you're going to be wearing shorts almost 90% of the year. If you want to live there, the cost of living's a little high. It is a port town or a coastal town, but the average home value is only $322,000. That being said, the ones you probably want are going to start around $500,000. Number 4, Seeley Lake, Montana. Seeley Lake, Montana is a quiet town located in the Clearwater River Valley, about 50 miles northeast of Missoula. It's part of the Crown of the Continent ecosystem, or ecosystem, however you want to say it, surrounded by lush national forests and wilderness areas, offering a natural haven for outdoor enthusiasts, residents who enjoy a range of activities from boating, fishing, and hiking in the warmer months and snowmobiling and cross-country skiing in the winter. This place is perfect. And it can be relatively inexpensive, especially when you compare it to places like Whitefish, Montana. Now, they say the median home value is about $322,000. Remember, median home price, median home value are a lot different from the average home value. Seeley Lake offers a simple, secure, and peaceful lifestyle where community life is close-knit and nature is just outside your door. Appreciate the view while you're there. The average home value here is $548,000. Number 3, Petoskey, Michigan. Petoskey, Michigan is a northern gem on the shores of Lake Michigan that offers a full 4-season experience from sunny summer days on Little Traverse Bay to snowy winters that could recreate your childhood snow fort. This charming town is known for its friendly community where everyone greets each other. It's one of those places. Small towns do that. If you're ever from a big city, you go to a small town, they wave at you, they say hi, you don't have to know them. While the average home price here is around $423,000, it's a bargain compared to other retirement spots, especially with the array of festivals and events like the Winter Carnival and Festival on the Bay. Just be ready to shovel some snow and swat mosquitoes in the summer. Number 2, Paso Robles, California. You know, I'm not sure if we've ever talked about Paso Robles on this channel at all. I used to drive through there all the time, and I know a handful of people that have moved there. Growing up in Los Angeles, back in the 90s, it was a way more affordable place to buy a house. Now it's a little pricey, just like every place else. Paso Robles is located in San Luis Obispo County on California's central coast. It's kind of inland, it's not really on the coast, but we have this coastal range there and there, like a 30 or 40 minute drive from Morro Bay. It is also positioned about halfway between San Francisco and Los Angeles. Paso Robles offers residents and visitors a convenient access to both major cities. The city is a haven for wine enthusiasts, boasting over 200 wineries. Yeah, we have talked about this before, because I remember that number, 200 wineries there, that provide ample opportunity for leisurely wine tours and tasting. It's actually a really cute small town, I guess. Well, it's been years since I've been there, so it's a little bit bigger than it was back then. But it's always been adorable. At least the downtown area. That's really nice. This is probably one of the best places on this list for outdoor enthusiasts, because, I mean, they've got all kinds of hiking, biking, camping, golfing everywhere here. The Salinas River runs through town, but really, it's not much of a river. It's a little stream. And that'll prompt people that will send me pictures from winter 1988 or something like that. No, it's a real river. Yeah, okay. but they do have a lake right up the road. Actually, they got a couple lakes right up the road. If you do move here, everything's a short drive away. It's a really nice place to live. Now here's the rub. Like everything in California, it's expensive, and homes are no exception here. The average home value here is $754,000. That's the average. That means if you want to get a middle of the road or a little bit nicer type home, you're probably going to be looking at around $850,000. And they go way up from there. All right, before we get to number 1, I have a question for you. If you're looking for a new place to live, city, state, town, whatever, does the politics of that location play a part in your decision making? Let us know in the comment section below. And number 1. Bisbee, Arizona. High in the Mule Mountains of Arizona, Bisbee is a town that feels like a charming, quirky character from an indie film. Just 10 miles north of the US-Mexico border, Bisbee has transformed its rough mining origins into a haven for artists, retirees, and history enthusiasts. The town offers a unique blend of creativity and history, where former mining tools have been replaced by paintbrushes and poetry readings. I went to an open mic one night when I was a stand-up comedian in the early days, and it said open mic. So I put my name in and I waited, and I wasn't paying attention. I was going over my jokes. About 2 people before I went up, I realized it was a poetry open mic. So pressed for a poem, I came up with this. I wrote it down years ago, still have it. In a van, parked by the edge of the road, where the world hums softly, time seems slow, I sit in the quiet where no one will go, with a Danish in hand and a clamato to show. They applauded that. That is garbage, but they were being supportive. You gotta love that. As I was leaving, they asked me to come back next week. That was great. As I got in my car to drive home, I sat in the front seat and laughed hysterical for like 5 minutes. Anyway, back to Bisbee. Bisbee's got a really cool cactus botanical garden, which is kind of neat. Most botanical gardens don't have a whole bunch of cactus, but it has over 800 species of desert plants, and it allows visitors to connect with nature in a way that is both educational and enchanting. That's from a website I read. Bisbee sits about 5,500 and provides a little relief from that brutal Arizona heat. Kind of makes Bisbee a year-round destination. And on top of it, it's surprisingly affordable. So like I said, some of these are in Arizona or Florida, well 2 of them, but this one's not your typical place people retire to in Arizona. The average home value in Bisbee, Arizona is about $224,000, which is not bad. All right, this next one's taking a negative tone for retirement, which is kind of rare. It's called Retirement Cities That Sounded Good Till You Got There. You've packed up your stuff, you've sold your house, and moved to what you thought was your dream city. Maybe it looked great on Instagram, maybe a realtor told you it was up and coming. So you move. Now you're stuck in a town that smells like broken promises and cheap beer. Welcome to the 10 US cities where moving there was a big mistake. These are the cities that lure you in with charm, sunshine, and low home prices. Then they sucker punch you with things like high crime rates, sky-high rent, and a job market that makes the Great Depression look like a career fair. Whether it's crumbling infrastructure, soul-crushing commutes, or the kind of quirky locals that make you miss your HOA. These places have one thing in common. A whole lot of people regret ever unpacking. If you're thinking about relocating, you might want to keep that moving truck idling while you watch this video. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 10, Kingman, Arizona. Dry heat and drier dreams. Kingman gets sold to retirees like it's a gateway to Arizona paradise. Low taxes, desert sunsets, and Route 66 nostalgia. What you do get is an endless buffet of broken air conditioners, dollar store strip malls, and a suspicious amount of expired canned goods at local grocery stores. Yes, it's cheap to live here, but there's a reason for that. No one with any money wants to stay. Healthcare? Well, you got the Kingman Regional Medical Center, which is only about 10 minutes away from downtown Kingman. But if you need anything else, you're gonna have to go to Phoenix, which is like 3 hours away, or maybe Las Vegas, which is about an hour and a half away. Not saying their service is bad or anything like that. I'm sure they have great people, they get great scores. It's just access. How far do you have to go, and how many people are actually using the medical center you want to go to? And while Kingman sounds historic, the historic downtown is more of a half-empty stretch where tumbleweeds do most of the business. If you're retiring here for peace and quiet, you'll definitely get the quiet part because there's not much else going on. The occasional Air Force jet flying overhead. Kingman's crime rates aren't astronomical, but they're not great either. Their total crime rate is 35% above the national average, and like I've said before on this channel, that's not terrible. There's cities in this country that have crime rates that are 300 and 400% above the national average. The good news that is true about the place, the cost of living's low and so is the housing. That low cost of living is bringing in some unsavory types. They've got a transient population, a drug problem that won't quit, and summer's hot enough to melt your shoes. All that is a recipe for regret. People come here to escape high cost and end up feeling like they escaped civilization altogether. Number 9, Brownsville, Texas, where the sun is hot and the regret is hotter. Brownsville often gets advertised as an affordable Gulf Coast escape. And sure, you could buy a house here for less than a decent used car, but you'll pay for it in other ways. The humidity here is like being slow roasted in a sauna that smells vaguely of mildew and sadness. The insects, they come at you like they're unionized. Retirees show up here expecting charming coastal vibes and friendly border town hospitality. What they get is an infrastructure system held together with duct tape, limited medical options, and a city that seems confused about whether it's growing or decaying. It's caught between a historic destination and a budget afterthought. Crime and poverty rates in Brownville are consistently among the highest in the state. Combine that with minimal public transportation, underfunded services, and summer temperatures that always seem to be flirting with 100 degrees. Suddenly, Boca Raton doesn't seem so bad, even with the HOA fees and retired mobsters. Number 8, Bakersfield, California, the retirement plan for people who hate themselves. Welcome to Bakersfield, where your golden years are guaranteed to be dusty, smoggy, and full of bad decisions. The cost of living may be cheaper than coastal California. Bakersfield is where retirees go when they've been priced out of literally every other place in the state. It's the city equivalent of a gas station microwave burrito. Technically it's food, but deeply unsatisfying. The local culture is a strange mix of oil workers, cowboys, and people who swear they're moving to Idaho any day now. And while crime isn't sky high, it's high enough that you'll think twice about those evening strolls. Healthcare options are hit and miss. And that Central Valley sunshine quickly turns into a heat wave nightmare come July. Regret level, extra crispy. Number 7, Shreveport, Louisiana. Retirement in a slow motion breakdown. Shreveport looks good on paper, cheap housing, southern charm, and just enough culture to make it seem interesting. But the reality? It's like watching a town try and keep its chin up while everything falls apart around it. The roads are pothole obstacle courses, and the city's finances look like someone's kid was doing the budget as a school project. The healthcare situation isn't the worst in the country, but you'll definitely want to have a reliable car and a backup plan. Crime is high, infrastructure is crumbling, and half the businesses look like they're one bad month away from closing for good. It's not so much retirement, it's more like survival with coupons. When you look at all the stats of this place, they're all bad but two, and when these are the only two good stats you got, it's because the other ones are that bad. The cost of living here is well below the national average, and the same thing with housing prices. The average home value here is $129,000, and the crime rate's 139% above the national average. And it has one other bright spot, the food scene. Louisiana always delivers in that department, but it's hard to enjoy gumbo when you're dodging sketchy neighborhoods just to find a decent grocery store. A lot of people move here thinking they're getting a budget-friendly New Orleans experience. They're not. You're getting a budget-friendly demolition derby with more humidity. Number 6, Modesto, California. Welcome to budget purgatory. If you've ever dreamed about spending your retirement trapped in a Walmart parking lot with bad air quality, Modesto might be what you're looking for. Modesto is in the Central Valley, and it is notorious for being one of the hottest places in California during the summer and has some of the worst air quality. For some reason, people still move there. They're expecting affordable California. What they get is a DMV line that never ends and Taco Bells on every corner. Modesto has big suburb energy with small town frustrations. There's no beach, no mountains, no real there. The crime rate is high enough to make retirees double check their door locks at noon. The city also ranks poorly for walkability and public services, so unless you plan to Uber your way everywhere in your golden years, you're going to be out of luck. Healthcare is available, but good luck getting a same-week appointment without a miracle or a bribe. The air quality from nearby agriculture and industry is so thick you could practically chew it. Retirees often leave saying it was cheaper than San Diego, but they forgot to mention it was also gloomier, hotter, and someone forgot to finish building the place. Number 5, Memphis, Tennessee. The blues hit different when you live here. Memphis has soul, history, and some of the best barbecue on the planet. But for retirees, it's less walking in Memphis and more like lock your doors and call 911 every single day. The city has one of the highest violent crime rates in the country. That includes carjackings, home invasion, and more break-ins than Elvis had hit records by noon every day. Yeah, this one is a no-brainer. Everyone who's paid attention to the news or watched this channel long enough knows you should not go to visit Memphis. I mean, if you're going to Beale Street, great. Go to Beale Street, get off Beale Street, get on a plane, go home. Don't wander into the neighborhoods. It's not going to end well. Their total crime rate is 392% above the national average. And their violent crime rate is 618% above the national average. It's like they're trying to win a competition or something. It is affordable, I'll give them that. But once you move in, you'll notice that your neighbors are either incredibly kind or incredibly loud. Sometimes both at once. Infrastructure is patchy, public transit is laughable, and the roads look like they were paved when Elvis was still alive. That's enough Elvis jokes. I'm moving on. Number 4, Pueblo, Colorado. High desert, low expectations. Now, a couple months ago, I did tell people they should move here in retirement because it is affordable. But if that's all you're looking for, great, it fits that bill. But if you're looking for a nice, quiet Colorado place to live, yeah, it doesn't deliver. Pueblo is what happens when people want the Colorado lifestyle without the Denver or Boulder prices and end up with none of the charm. It's hot, dry, and has that industrial vibe everywhere. You get into town, you'll wonder if you're supposed to be living there or clocking in for a factory shift. That closed 20 years ago. The crime rate here is kind of rough. The total crime rate's 207% above the national average, and their violent crime is 305% above the national average. Now, one of their biggest problems is domestic violence. It's not as much the carjackings and robberies and mugging type stuff. Those do happen, but most of their violent crime seems to come from domestic violence. And the local government keeps promising a turnaround. Many retirees are still waiting for the renaissance that was supposed to happen sometime during the Obama administration. You'll find a nice Riverwalk and a few solid restaurants, but overall, it feels like a town that gave up on trying to impress anyone long ago. You get all that, plus subpar access to healthcare, increasing drug-related crimes, and a general sense that you're slightly too far away from anything cool. It's no wonder retirees are packing up and leaving. Now, like I was saying, their crime rate is up there. It's 207% above the national average, and their violent crime rate is 305% above the national average. That's nuts. Number 3, Ocala, Florida, where golf carts go to die. On paper, Ocala looks like a retirement dream. Horse country, sunny weather, and affordable homes in sprawling gated communities. In reality, it's Florida without the beach or much charm. You're hours away from anything interesting, stuck in a swampy bubble of chain restaurants, HOA drama, and residents who peak during water aerobics. Medical care is plentiful but uneven. Some facilities are great while others feel like they're designed by someone who learned medicine from a YouTube video. Ocala is growing fast, but infrastructure isn't keeping up, meaning traffic is a mess and services are stretched thin. And yes, there are alligators, always alligators. Crime is rising, especially in property crime, and the weather flips from sunshine to soul-sucking humidity without warning. Many retirees say that the isolation gets to them and that the only people they ever see are the people they golf with. Number 2, Birmingham, Alabama, a city in constant rebuild mode. Birmingham is a city with a complicated past and a present that still hasn't quite figured itself out yet. It's cheap, which lures in retirees looking to make their dollar stretch a little bit further. But once they unpack the U-Haul, they realize that the cost of savings comes with a few asterisks. Underfunded public services, crumbling infrastructure, and crime rates that keep the Ring doorbell one of the most popular retirement gifts. I mean, it is cheap, I'll give them that. The average home value here is $135,000. You could find homes to move in right now, probably need a little work, not falling down, for about $120,000. Downtown has tried to revitalize, and you'll hear the locals talk about the rebirth of Birmingham. That rebirth feels like it's stuck in labor. Lots of effort, very little delivery. Healthcare here is decent, especially with UAB Medical Center around. Getting an appointment, now that's a trick. Cultural gems like museums and great food can't always make up for the general wear and tear the city suffers from. Retirees show up expecting slow southern living and charm. What they get is a patchwork of a city in flux, where the grass grows fast and the potholes grow faster. It's like buying a fixer-upper and realizing you're too old to fix anything. And number 1, Deltona, Florida. Retirement's worst kept secret. And finally, we arrive at the crown jewel of disappointment, Deltona, Florida. This master plan community between Orlando and Daytona was supposed to be Florida's affordable answer to the retirement dream. Here's the thing, it isn't. It's not near the beach, it's like 40 minutes away, and one of the beaches you can go to that's fairly close, like 35-40 minutes away, is New Smyrna Beach, which is like the number 1 place to get bit by a shark in the United States. Think it is still, at least. Disney World and Universal are all like an hour away, and it's really not near anything you'd want to do. The city's a sprawling maze of cul-de-sacs and cookie-cutter homes, but there's no real downtown, no central entertainment area, and not even a decent selection of restaurants. Retirees come expecting golf courses and country clubs. What they find is a 45-minute drive to the nearest fun thing to do. Crime is on the rise, especially petty theft and home burglaries. Medical care is okay if you're not in a rush, and the retirement communities are starting to feel more like a holding tank than a haven. Combine that with brutal summer heat, bugs everywhere, and the overall unfinished suburb vibe, and you've got yourself the unlimited place to regret retiring to. Now here's a pretty good one. Everyone wants to retire by the coast or on the water. That's like most people's dreams, unless you're heavy into desert life or something. This one's called Secret Coastal Retirement Towns. So you're thinking about moving to a coastal city for retirement. Well, today I'm going to tell you about 10 coastal US cities that might not be on your radar right now. Like in our last video, I explained not everyone wants to retire in the heat of Boca Raton, Florida and Phoenix, Arizona. And others can't afford to retire in Hawaii or on a beach in California. So people want to know about other places. I get emails about this all the time. And that's what we're doing today. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 10, Biloxi, Mississippi. Yep, believe it or not, we're talking nice about Mississippi. Biloxi is a coastal city that perfectly balances a good time, affordability, and natural beauty, making it a standout destination for retirees. One of Biloxi's biggest draws is the casino scene, which includes iconic venues like Beau Rivage Resort and Casino and the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. These aren't just places to try your luck at the slots, they offer the full entertainment thing. Shows, high-end dining, everything. They also have pretty good spas. For retirees, this means access to exciting nightlife and social activities without needing to venture far from home. And if you've ever been to a casino, you know there's a whole lot of retirees there. Biloxi isn't just about bright lights and casinos, though. The city has a rich history, which is evident in landmarks like the Biloxi Lighthouse. This historic structure was built in 1848, and it has weathered many storms, much like the resilient people of Biloxi. It offers great views of the coastline and serves as a reminder of the city's deep-rooted heritage. Of course, Biloxi's natural beauty is another major perk about retiring here. The beaches are like a hidden treasure, less crowded than those neighboring states on the Gulf, and they provide a pretty nice retreat. The Gulf's warm waters are perfect for swimming, fishing, boating, which of course means you're going to have a bunch of seafood restaurants in the area. Yeah, the beaches in Biloxi are definitely less crowded than the beaches of neighboring states in the Gulf. Biloxi offers a lifestyle that's as relaxed or as active as you want it to be. Add in a mild climate, affordable living with cost of living that's 8% lower than the national average, and no state income tax on Social Security benefits. This is not a bad place to retire. The average home value in Biloxi is about $222,000. Number 9, Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. Rehoboth Beach, often dubbed the nation's summer capital, is more than just a seasonal getaway. It's a nice year-round community that perfectly balances the charm of a small town with the energy of a busy seaside resort. One of the key features that draws retirees to Rehoboth Beach is the famous mile-long boardwalk, lined with boutiques, quaint shops, and casual dining spots. That casual dining spots sounds like frozen fish sticks to me. Anyway, the boardwalk is the heart of the social life of this town. You can easily spend your days strolling along the wooden planks, enjoying a morning coffee while watching the sunrise over the Atlantic. Or, since it's a seaside boardwalk, there's got to be about 5 ice cream places. That's always the case. Now, this one's a little expensive. The cost of living in Rehoboth Beach is about 14% above the national average, and while this may seem steep, it's a reflection of the town's desirability. The average home price here hovers around $750,000, which may be on the high side. No, it's not maybe, it is. But consider what you're getting for your money. Proximity to pristine beaches, a tight-knit community, and a lively art scene. that retirees seem to really enjoy. Rehoboth Beach is known for its cultural events, such as the Rehoboth Beach Jazz Festival and the Sea Witch Festival. Despite its popularity, Rehoboth Beach manages to maintain a small town feel. In summer, it's a little bit different, but most of the year, it's a small town. The locals are friendly and there's a strong sense of community that makes it easy to meet new people and get involved in local activities. Whether you're looking to kayak on the bay, join a book club, or simply enjoy a quiet walk on the beach, Rehoboth Bay offers the lifestyle that's both active and laid back. It's an ideal place for retirees who want to stay social and engage without sacrificing a nice and quiet lifestyle by the beach. Like I'd said, the average home value here is about $752,000. Number 8, Lewis, Delaware. Lewis is known for its historic charm and natural beauty. The cost of living here is about 12% above the national average, so that's something you should probably consider before you move there. But it's worth it. Lewis, Delaware is a charming coastal town that perfectly balances historic allure and modern conveniences, making it a fantastic option for retirees. Known as the first town in the first state, Lewis boasts a rich history that dates back to the 17th century. The town's historic district is a true gem, with cobblestone streets lined with beautifully preserved homes, quaint shops, and cafes. This walkable area is not only picturesque, but it's also full of activities, from exploring local museums, enjoying seasonal events, and, just feeling the whole community vibe. Like I said, the cost of living in Lewis is about 12% higher than the national average, and the average home price hovers around $586,000. While slightly above the national norms, the cost reflects the town's high-quality life, safe, and access to excellent healthcare facilities. There is all kinds of stuff to do here besides what you could do on the water. They have a state park nearby. It's just a few minutes from downtown. It offers miles of hiking and biking trails, pristine beaches perfect for fishing, swimming, and just laying on the sand. Lewis isn't that big, or at least it doesn't seem that big. And it's not too far from Rehoboth Beach. I think a lot of people sleep on Delaware. They don't realize how good of a state it actually is. I mean, Wilmington's a nightmare like any major city, but the rest of the state is really, really nice. But like I said, the average home value here is $586,000. A little expensive, but it's kind of worth it. Number 7, Beaufort, North Carolina. Beaufort, North Carolina isn't just a retirement spot. It's where history buffs, nature lovers, and those who enjoy saying y'all a bit too much come to find their slice of heaven. Picture this. You're sipping on some sweet tea on the porch, overlooking the scenic waterfront, surrounded by historic homes that look like they were plucked straight out of a movie set. The cost of living here is about on par with the national average. And you're not going to shell out too much to buy a home, unless of course you go down and get a house right on the water or near it. It's going to get a little expensive there, like any coastal town. Beaufort is a place where your biggest stressor could be deciding whether to spend the day fishing or joining a local ghost tour to meet some of the town's more permanent residents. Yes, it's like a very haunted town. If you're a retiree who prefers serenity over the buzz of city life, Beaufort's slower pace of life will have you forgetting the word rush hour. So if your retirement dream involves laid-back lifestyle with a side of southern hospitality, Beaufort is the place where you could put your feet up, relax, and maybe even develop a mild obsession with boating. The average home price in Beaufort is $397,000. Number 6, Seaside, Oregon. If you're considering a retirement that involves more tranquility and fewer alligator sightings, Seaside, Oregon might be your perfect match. Imagine trading the endless summer heat of Florida for cool, misty mornings in the Pacific Northwest. Here, you won't find retirees sweating in golf carts. Instead, you'll see them leisurely strolling down the 1.5-mile oceanfront promenade with coffee in one hand and a guide to local birds in the other. Yeah, bird watching's a big thing down there. With a population hovering around 7,000, most of them knowing each other by name, Seaside offers a small town vibe where everybody knows your business, but in a nice, neighborly way. Seaside's historic downtown area is like a scene out of a Hallmark movie. Quaint shops, charming art galleries, and restaurants that somehow make kale taste good. Yeah, it's a thing. Now let's talk about the numbers. Sure, the cost of living is a tad higher than the national average here, about 9% above the national average to be exact. But hey, the ocean out your front door and out your back door is the woods. Sometimes that gets a little expensive. Seaside's mild climate means you can enjoy the great outdoors without melting in the summers or turning into an icicle in the winters. It does get a little cold during the winter, nothing terrible. I'm sure they have in their history, but they don't have blizzards really. You might get a couple dustings every year. But if you're the type who enjoys spotting whales more than traffic jams, you're in luck. Seaside is a haven for outdoor enthusiasts, offering everything from hiking trails to birdwatching spots. In short, if you want to retire where you can swap golf shoes for hiking boots and a suntan for a cozy flannel, Seaside might be your little slice of heaven. The average home value in Seaside is $496,000. Number 5, Delray Beach, Florida. Delray Beach is like that girl in high school that was really attractive and thought she was better than everyone else, but for some reason, you still can't quit thinking about her while you're making minimum wage at an auto parts store next to a dude named Lou, who's been there for 30 years. Yeah, just like that. Atlantic Avenue is the heartbeat of this interesting town, busy with restaurants that serve everything from gourmet seafood to a slice of pizza. They also have this thing that's pretty cool, the Pineapple Grove Art District, where you can channel your inner art critic or just enjoy the fact that there's sculptures here that probably cost more than your first house. Sure, the cost of living here is about 20% higher than the national average, and the homes might set you back quite a bit. Now, they say that the average home value is about $380,000. That's really unrealistic because they have a ton of condos here. And those bring down the price quite a bit. I'll give you both prices. The average condo here goes for about $200,000. They have a lot that are very expensive, but the average is about $200,000. If you eliminate those from the equation, the average home value is really about $650,000. And it is near the coast and it is in Florida, so there's a chance you could find something for about $3 million if you looked hard enough. Now let's talk about the retirement facts, because they're fun, right? We all enjoy facts and numbers. The average retiree spends about 20 years in retirement, so why not spend those years in a place where every day feels like a vacation? Delray Beach offers the perfect mix of excitement and relaxation, where your toughest decision of the week might be whether to hit up the local farmer's market or take a leisurely stroll along the beach. They have world-class healthcare facilities here, and it's, in general, just a great place to live. You just gotta have some coin. Like I said, the average home value here is about $656,000. Number 4, Portland, Maine. Yes, retirement doesn't always need to be sunshine at the beach. Sometimes it could be a rocky coast and cool weather, and sometimes a lot of snow. Portland, Maine is where lobsters are plentiful and the streets are cobblestone. If you're thinking about retiring here, be prepared to trade in your flip-flops for snow boots and your suntan lotion for hand warmers. The cost of living here is about 20% above the national average, so you might want to consider downsizing that collection of garden homes before you move here. With an average home price that's over $500,000, it's clear that Portland isn't a cheap place to retire, but who can put a price on living in a place that smells like the ocean and fresh seafood year-round? The Pine Tree State is also one of the safest states in the nation. Portland has a little crime like all cities, but overall, Maine is either first or second when it comes to the lowest crime rate every single year. It's like every, year it switches. It's either Vermont, New Hampshire, or Maine. Portland's historic charm is undeniable. Think cobblestone streets with old brick buildings that make you feel like you've stepped back in time, perhaps to an era where people still used rotary phones and didn't need 5 remotes just to watch TV. That was totally my grandmother's house. They had like 4 remotes on a little coffee table thing. Now I just talk to my TV and it does what I want. Portland is another city that has great healthcare. I mean, a lot of people want to retire to smaller towns and, rural towns. Sometimes healthcare and maybe your medical conditions keep you closer to cities. Portland's a perfect example of that. Portland might not be for everybody, but a lot of people, like myself, who want to retire in a cold climate, it's perfect. Like I said, the average home value is about $567,000. Number 3, Rochester, Minnesota. If your retirement dreams include top-notch healthcare, then pack your bags and head straight for Rochester, Minnesota, where the air smells like freshly printed prescriptions and the streets are paved with wellness programs. You see, Rochester isn't just a Midwest city. It's the Shangri-La for healthcare, thanks to the world-renowned Mayo Clinic. It's not just a hospital, oh no. It's the holy grail of medical institutions where doctors are practically wizards and an MRI machine works more like a crystal ball. According to a Fair Health analyst, the city boasts one of the best ratios of primary care providers to patients in the entire United States, a mere 114 patients for every primary care provider. You'll be seen faster than you can say annual checkup or prostate exam. Whether you're there for the sniffles or something more sinister, Rochester's medical elite are ready to swoop in with cutting-edge treatments and wellness programs that could put your local gym to shame. And senior services are more abundant than snow in Minnesota. It's not terribly expensive either. Now, I always have to say this because not all of us are over 40 and have to go to the doctor all the time. We have some younger people here that don't understand. As you get older, you need a doctor. Some of us need highly skilled specialists too. I needed a specialist a while back. I was hearing voices in my head. The voice kept saying, "You're a loser, Briggs. You're a loser, Briggs. You're a loser, Briggs," over and over and over. Got to the specialist, went through all kinds of tests, finally figured out it's just my wife talking in her sleep. The average home value in Rochester, Minnesota is $324,000. Number 2, St. Augustine, Florida. Welcome to St. Augustine, where history isn't just something you read about, it's something you trip over on your way to the beach. Known as the oldest city in the United States, St. Augustine has been around longer than most retirees have been collecting Social Security. With cobblestone streets that have seen more action than your average pair of orthopedic shoes, this city offers a charming blend of history and relaxation that's perfect for those looking to slow down but still want to have their brains sharp. Plus, if you ever get tired of strolling through the centuries-old Spanish architecture, the beautiful beaches are just a stone's throw away, because nothing says retirement bliss like watching the sunset where conquistadors once marched. I can't even say conquistadors today. Oh my God. I'll move on. Now let's talk numbers, because no retirement decision is made without considering the almighty dollar. The cost of living here is about 7% higher than the national average, which might sound steep until you realize that includes daily access to history, culture, and some of the finest seafood your taste buds have ever met. The average home here is around $450,000, with some that are very expensive. This is pretty a reasonable price when you consider where it is and what's going on here. And if you don't want to go hang out on the beach, there's a ton of ghost tours in this city. After all, what's the point of retiring if you can't occasionally scare yourself silly with the tale of pirate ghosts while sipping on your early bird special? The average home value here is $455,000. And number 1, Virginia Beach, Virginia. If you're looking to retire in a place where you can enjoy the ocean instead of becoming one with your couch, Virginia Beach might be your paradise. With 28 miles of coastline, you've got plenty of room to stretch your legs or stretch out a hammock and lay in it, if that's more your speed. Whether you want to take a leisurely stroll along the Chesapeake Bay or dive into the waves in the Atlantic Ocean, there's something here for every kind of beach bum. Sure, the cost of living is about 10% higher than the national average, and the average home price is right around $400,000, but hey, that's the price you pay for living in a place where the seafood is fresher than your retirement haircut. And to be totally honest, you're not going to find views like this in Kansas. Now, let's talk about staying active. If your idea of retirement involves more than perfecting your recliner angle, Virginia Beach has got your back, and your knees and your heart rate too. The city's practically littered with parks, trails, just begging you to dust off those walking shoes, or even maybe a bike. Buy a bike, not an electric one, get some exercise. This is a big place for retirees that came from the Navy. I mean, Norfolk is right there. And with that, if you're retired military, this is a great place to retire because you got great healthcare here too. Not saying the civilian healthcare is bad, it's just they've got a lot of good healthcare here in this part of Virginia. Sure, they're 10% higher than the national average in cost of living, and house prices are a little bit lower than the national average right now. It's still way better than Hawaii, California, or some of the bigger cities in Florida. But like I said, the average home value here is about $404,000. This one was kind of comparing smaller towns and bigger cities, and it was called Small Town Retirement Beats Big Cities Every Time. So you hate big cities, and the last thing you want to do is retire to one. I'm with you on that one. I want a town that isn't too big and definitely is not in Florida. That may seem kind of specific, but really it's not. In the United States, there are plenty of solid options out there for you. In this video, I'm going to tell you about 10 solid picks for anyone that's thinking about retirement. We'll look at the real estate prices and cost of living. You know, the important things to retirees. We won't look at jobs or schools because if you're retired, you probably aren't looking for those. Maybe a part-time job, but you're not looking to start a new career in most cases. That's what we're doing. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 10, Livingston, Montana. If you've ever wanted to retire somewhere with big skies and zero skyscrapers, Livingston is calling your name with a little bit of a cowboy drawl. Nestled along the Yellowstone River and backed by the Absaroka Mountains, This place looks like it was built for peaceful postcards. And it kind of was. It's the sort of town where strangers will say howdy and your blood pressure drops just from walking down the street. Livingston has a good art scene, and fly fishing is basically a religion here. If you're into fishing, any kind, this is a great place to retire. You learn how to fly fish and your life will be happy. They've got a charming historic district filled with bookstores, galleries, and cafes. It's perfect for retirees who want nature at their doorstep but still enjoy the occasional local theater performance or jazz night. The bonus, no traffic jams unless you count moose crossings. Now, I really like this place for a couple different reasons. One, it's right on the river, Yellowstone River. It's amazing. Lewis and Clark came down there. Matter of fact, on the river, they have a Sacagawea Park. Now, here's the most amazing thing about their downtown. 80% of the shops aren't empty. I looked and I saw a couple, but not like some small towns that are out in the middle of nowhere, which Livingston sort of is. That tells me their economy is doing better than a lot of other small towns that I've experienced or been to or done videos on. Here's their numbers. They only have a population of 8,040 residents. That was in 2023. Their cost of living is only 5% above the national average, which is outstanding for a nice place to live. And their average home value is about $519,000. But poking around on their Zillow page, I found plenty of homes for about $300 to $350 that are decent. They just have some really, really nice homes that come with like 10 acres that are going for $1 million plus. So that kind of raises up their average, but you could find a decent home for $300 to $350,000. Number 9, Abingdon, Virginia. Tucked away in the Appalachian Highlands, Abingdon is like the Southern hospitality version of a warm blanket and a slice of pie. It's walkable, friendly, and artsy without being pretentious. The pace here is slow, on purpose. Retirees love the fresh air, quaint boutiques, and the famous Barter Theater. This town also happens to sit right next to the Virginia Creeper Trail. That's perfect for biking, walking, or just feeling like you're in a Hallmark movie. The healthcare here is solid for a small town, and that's one of the biggest problems with retirees moving to small towns. You got to make sure they got a decent hospital, or at least one within a 30-minute to an hour drive. It's one reason I always bring up Honesdale for retirees. That's in Pennsylvania. They have a giant hospital in town, and the town is not that big. This hospital just happens to cater to the entire county. This town has that situation too. They have the Johnston Memorial Hospital, which is huge for a town just over 8,000 residents. Here's their numbers. They've got a population of 8,325 currently. Their cost of living is 9% lower than the national average. And the average home value, it's about $276,000. That's not bad, especially for a nice place like this. Number 8, Decorah, Iowa. Yes, Iowa, not the cornfield part. Okay, maybe a little bit. But Decorah is an unexpectedly delightful gem. Wow, that was rough to say. But it's tucked away in the rolling hills of the Driftless area. Driftless means the glaciers didn't come through here. The Norwegians did instead. Actually, the area was settled by the English first, then the Germans, and finally the Norwegians. You can still see Norwegian flags in and around the town. Even the local college gets in on this action. That's their very blue stadium with Norse proudly displayed in the end zone. Decorah is clean, safe, and friendly. Got a lot of Norwegian roots, which means there's always a festival nearby. And you might accidentally learn how to pronounce lutefisk. Retirees love Decorah for its sense of community, access to nature, and surprisingly lively art scene, thanks to Luther College. You know, the Norse and the Blue Field. There's a top-notch co-op, a stunning river trail, and even a brewery that hosts live music. The cost of living is lower than the national average, and the town is small enough that you'll probably know your pharmacist by their first name. Decorah has a population of only 7,578 residents. That's in 2023. Their cost of living is 11% below the national average, and the average home value here is under $300,000. It's $292,000. Number 7, Mount Airy, North Carolina. Have you ever wondered what it's like to live inside an old episode of The Andy Griffith Show? Well, Mount Airy is basically that, because it was the inspiration for Mayberry. The town is decked out with small town nostalgia, but not in a corny way. It's got that rare combo of charm and comfort that makes you feel like you belong here, even if you just rolled in for the afternoon. You've got walkable streets, a historic downtown with soda fountains and antique shops, and a community that actually shows up for events like the Bluegrass Festival or Pancake Breakfast. The weather is mild, healthcare access is solid, and you could snag a nice house without taking out a second mortgage. Basically, it's retirement heaven for anyone who hates concrete jungles. Mount Airy has a population of about 10,000. Their cost of living is 9% lower than the national average, and their average home value is $193,000. Can't beat that. Number 6, Silver City, New Mexico. If you like a little edge to your peace and quiet, Silver City brings the desert calm without the Arizona sprawl. Set on the edge of the Gila National Forest, this small town offers natural beauty, sunny weather, and a fiercely independent spirit. It's artsy, rugged, and just quirky enough to keep life interesting. And stop typing. It's actually called the Gila National Forest, like after the Gila monster, which does look like Gila National Forest or Gila National Forest. But it's actually pronounced Gila National Forest. Silver City has a strong retiree community, and it's easy to see why. Affordable housing, a mild four-season climate, and a historic downtown with a surprising number of galleries and cafes. Plus, if you got an adventurous streak, hiking, bird watching, and hot springs are all nearby. It's for the kind of retiree who doesn't just want to fade quietly into a recliner. Silver City's a pretty cute small town though. I mean, it's got this old West, Tex-Mex type vibe. It's pretty neat. Here's the numbers. Silver City only has a population of 9,500 residents, and their cost of living is actually 12% below the national average. Their average home value is about $217,000. They got a little crime. It's 37% above the national average. Don't wander around back alleys around midnight, you'll be fine. Number 5, Fairfield Glade, Tennessee. Fairfield Glade isn't just a town, it's a full-blown retirement playground built into the hills of eastern Tennessee. It's got lakes, it's got golf courses, it's got hiking trails, and more amenities than a Florida resort, but with less humidity and 0 hurricanes. If you like the idea of living in a peaceful bubble without being totally isolated, this is your spot. The community is incredibly active, whether you're into pickleball, yoga, woodworking, or just socializing at the clubhouse. It's there for you. Plus, there's no state income tax, which is a sweet little bonus for retirees looking to stretch their dollar. It's perfect for those who want a safe, clean, community-driven life minus the stress of big city traffic and overpriced everything. The population in Fairfield Glade is 9,340 as of 2023. Their cost of living is 3% lower than the national average. The average home value here is $294,202. Number 4, Cedarburg, Wisconsin. Cedarburg looks like it was ripped out of a snow globe. Think red brick buildings, cozy shops, and a river running right through town. Located just north of Milwaukee, it's close enough to major cities for a day trip or a specialist doctor, but far enough to avoid all the other nonsense that goes on with a big city. It's the kind of place where neighbors shovel each other's sidewalks and the holiday decorations go hard. Retirees are drawn to its strong sense of community, walkability, and a calendar full of festivals. Strawberry Fest, Wine and Harvest Fest, Winter Fest. They've got a great library, a charming historic district, and enough other charm to keep your adult kids visiting longer than they probably should. It's Small Town Magic, Midwestern Edition. I got that from one of their travel websites. Small Town Magic, Midwestern Edition. Anyway, their population is only about 11,345. Well below the city cutoff. Yeah, small cities are anything over 20,000 residents. Their cost of living is a little higher. It's 9% above the national average. But it's worth it. Their homes also are a little bit higher than the national average, $513,695. So if you could afford this place, it's the one I'd choose. Number 3, Sequim, Washington. Yes, it's pronounced Sequim because the English language is clearly just winging it at this point. This little gem on the Olympic Peninsula is where you go to retire peacefully, but with a touch of Pacific Northwest flair. Sequim is known for its mild weather, especially by Washington standards, thanks to the rain shadow, an effect that keeps it drier than nearby Seattle. You get the moody Pacific Northwest vibe, but you won't have to grow moss on your back porch. Sequim is also a haven for the outdoorsy retirees who like to hike, birdwatch, kayak, or just sit in a lavender field pretending they're in a wellness commercial. The town has a strong senior community, solid healthcare options, and one of the highest per capita numbers of coffee shops for a town this size. If you like natural beauty without big city price tags or hipster overload, this one's a winner, especially if you want to live in the Pacific Northwest. We stopped for lunch here a couple of years back on the way to Port Angeles. Nice little diner there. It looked like an old 1950s diner thing. It was pretty good. I hope it's still there. They do have this really weird, giant old building in the middle of town. It's like the highest building around. It's by a couple stories. It looks like it's been sitting there since before World War II, and it doesn't look like people have been keeping up on it lately. Sequim has a population of about 7,500 residents. Their cost of living is a little high. It's 12% above the national average. And the average home value is also above the national average at $578,000. But it's a great place to live, especially if you want peace and quiet and some outdoors. Number 2, Ocean Springs, Mississippi. Ocean Springs is like the artsy cousin of Biloxi, who skipped the casinos and took up pottery instead. Sitting on the Gulf Coast, this charming town has beaches, boardwalks, and more live oak trees than most people can name. It's a coastal town that's actually peaceful, not packed with screaming spring breakers or overpriced tourist traps. Retirees love Ocean Springs for its low cost of living, mild winters, and shockingly lively art scene. The downtown area is walkable, full of galleries, and dotted with cozy cafes and seafood joints. It's also one of those towns where community events actually feel like, well, a community. If your idea of retirement includes flip-flops, local art, and being on a first-name basis with your butcher, Ocean Springs might be your dream. Ocean Springs has a population of just over 17,000 residents. Their cost of living is 4% lower than the national average, and the average home value is $263,000. You can't beat that. Sure, it's in Mississippi, but it's on the coast. And for that cheap, that's outstanding. All their stats are great. Their healthcare is good, housing, schools are decent, their crime is very low. It's actually 68% below the national average. Not bad. And number 1, Fort Payne, Alabama. If you want mountains, music, and a mortgage that doesn't cause night sweats, Fort Payne is worth a serious look. Tucked into northeastern Alabama and surrounded by Lookout Mountain, this former sock capital of the world, yes, that's real, has reinvented itself as a haven for outdoor lovers and folks looking for small town life with big scenery. And yes, Alabama does have some mountains. These aren't as big as the Rocky Mountains, but they're mountains. Retirees enjoy hiking trails, waterfalls, and zero traffic jams. The cost of living is low, crime is minimal, and the pace of life is somewhere between porch swing and Sunday nap. There's also a small but strong music scene thanks to the band Alabama, who put Fort Payne on the map. So if you like your retirement with a side of southern charm and scenic overlooks, this one checks all the boxes. Fort Payne has a population of 14,006 residents. Their cost of living is 15% below the national average, and the average home value here is $194,399. Oh, and that minimal crime I brought up, their crime rate there is 60% lower than the national average. This one's called Retirement Towns That Are Secretly Great. So you're planning your retirement. You've probably Googled all the usual suspects, Palm Springs, Scottsdale, and maybe even some Florida beach towns with 400 golf carts per square mile. But what if I told you the best retirement towns aren't the ones with fancy brochures and HOA fees? These are the ones that nobody talks about. They're not overrun with tourists and other retirees, because not everyone wants to spend their golden years in a tourist trap. Welcome to 10 towns that are secretly great for retirement, where we skip the overpriced hotspots and take you to the real gems not many people consider. These are towns with charm, low real estate prices, friendly locals, and enough peace and quiet to actually enjoy your golden years without running into 500 other retirees fighting over a pickleball court. So before you call your realtor and start making some serious plans for Boca Raton, you should probably watch this video. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 10, Paris, Texas. Nope, not that Paris with the fancy Eiffel Tower. This one's in Texas, and yes, it has its own tower, complete with a cowboy hat on top and everything. So you're asking why? Well, of course it does. It's Texas. Paris, Texas is one of those small towns that quietly wins you over. With fewer than 25,000 residents, it's loaded with historic charm and a laid-back attitude. It's also a great place for retirees that want some peace and quiet, but don't want to sacrifice modern conveniences. The real kicker is the cost of living. It's low. You're not paying luxury resort prices to live in comfort here. Housing is affordable, medical services are available locally or within a short drive, and there's more antique shops than you'll know what to do with. Plus, it's close enough to Dallas for big city conveniences, but far enough away that you never have to deal with things like Dallas traffic, protests in the streets, or the general chaos of a large city. And I can't stress the slow pace of life enough. This is a town where you can walk your dog, chat with your neighbor, and spend an hour at a hardware store just because you feel like it. Paris, Texas isn't flashy, but neither is a good pair of slippers. And you wouldn't retire without those either. The cost of living in Paris, Texas is 14% below the national average, and the average home value here is $168,000. Number 9, Lindsborg, Kansas. Yes, Kansas. Try not to roll your eyes yet. Lindsborg is a little Swedish-themed town that feels like a Hallmark movie set that forgot it was in the Midwest. It's known as Little Sweden, USA, and yes, they fully lean into that with festivals, bakeries, and art galleries that make you feel like you accidentally retired to Scandinavia, without 9 out of 10 women being blonde and blue eyes. You gotta be over 50 to remember this, but remember the Swedish bikini team? Oh yeah. When I was 13, I had one of their posters on my wall. The town is walkable, quiet, and filled with friendly people who actually say hi whether they know you or not, and they actually care. It's weird. Housing prices are laughably reasonable, and crime is basically non-existent. You can actually leave your porch chairs on your porch and expect them to be there in the morning. This is a wild concept for anyone that's from a major city, I know. Lindsborg also has an active cultural life for a small town, thanks in part to Bethany College. You get music, theater, and art events throughout the year, and you'll never have to fake being interested in shuffleboard again. Retirement doesn't have to be boring, and Lindsborg proves it. The cost of living in Lindsborg, Kansas is 12% below the national average, and the average home value is only $228,000. Number 8, Mountain Home, Arkansas. Nestled in the Ozarks, Mountain Home sounds like a retirement brochure name, because it basically is. This place is quiet, green, and cheap. It has lakes, rivers, and enough outdoor activities to keep you moving well into your 80s. That is assuming you want to leave your porch. It's a fishing and boating paradise, but it's also full of retirees who figured out the secret sauce. Warm weather, low taxes, and real estate that doesn't require you to sell your family heirlooms. Healthcare, Baxter Regional Medical Center is right there. And the best part? No traffic, zero, nada. Just deer crossing signs and the occasional tractor. Mountain Home is not flashy, but that's kind of the point. You want peace, not paparazzi. It's the kind of place where your biggest stressor is deciding between catfish or ribs on Friday nights. And honestly, that's the type of requirement most of us aspire to. The cost of living here is 16% below the national average, and the average home value is $238,000. They have very little crime, it's safe, they get good scores on everything except for amenities. It's a little bit out there, it's kind of away from things. Their violent crime is actually 28% below the national average. Number 7, Bedford, Virginia. If you've ever wanted to retire somewhere with mountain views, 4 seasons, and a touch of Americana that doesn't feel like it was manufactured for tourists, Bedford, Virginia might be your spot. Tucked between Roanoke and Lynchburg, Bedford is a small town with a big sense of history and a whole lot of natural beauty. It's got the Blue Ridge charm without the Blue Ridge price tag. The town sits right next to Blue Ridge Parkway, so your retirement walks just got an upgrade. The Peaks of Otter are basically in your backyard, offering hiking, lakes, and the kind of postcard-worthy scenery that usually costs a lot more to live near. You have access to Smith Mountain Lake nearby, so you could fish, boat, or just sit on the dock with a cooler and no plans. Bedford also delivers the essentials: decent healthcare access, low-cost living, and a peaceful community where people say good morning and actually might stop and chat with you about your morning. Plus, you're close enough to Roanoke if you ever need a Target run or a hospital that looks like it belongs in this century. Bedford is the kind of place where you can still hear crickets at night and not from lack of activity just because it's quiet. Bedford has a cost of living that's 11% below the national average, and the average home value here is $269,000. Number 6, Abbeville, South Carolina. Abbeville is the kind of small southern town that is so picturesque it makes you forget about humidity. It has a charming town square, old brick buildings, and more front porch rocking chairs per capita than just about anywhere else in the nation. This place is all about tradition, friendliness, and living slow on purpose. The housing prices here are ridiculously low. You could still find nicer homes for under $200,000, which is basically retirement unicorn territory at this point. And the historic district, it's like stepping back into a much simpler time. You get all 4 seasons here, but nothing too extreme. You're also not too far from Greenville or Columbia if you need something big city-ish. But honestly, once you settle into a rhythm or a life here, mornings on the porch, afternoons chatting with neighbors, you'll realize that you don't miss traffic, noise, or parking tickets. Has anyone ever missed parking tickets? I mean, if you're probably stranded in the desert and lost and about to die, you go, man, I would give anything to have someone give me a parking ticket right now. They might be able to call for help. The cost of living in Abbeville is 14% below the national average, and the average home value is about $215,000. Not bad. Number 5, Decorah, Iowa. You probably didn't have Iowa on your retirement bingo card, but Decorah is about to change your mind. It's nestled in the rolling hills of northeastern Iowa and has a surprising amount of culture for a town that has less than 8,000 people. Think Norwegian festivals, hiking trails, trout fishing, and even local co-ops that make you feel like you're living in an ecotopia. We talked about this town on a video probably about 4 months ago, but this one fits here too. Decorah is quiet, clean, and ridiculously safe. It's got a strong sense of community and a population that's just the right size. You know your neighbors, but you won't dodge them at every corner. The town also has good healthcare options and is close to Rochester, Minnesota, and the Mayo Clinic. Retirement here feels like early retirement from stress. You're surrounded by nature, community spirit, and the kind of people who wave at you because that's how they were brought up. Decorah might be the Midwest's best kept secret. And if you like birds, that's a bonus for this place. The cost of living in Decorah is about 19% below the national average, and the average home value is about $306,000. Number 4, Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. Now this one's in no real order, but I figure we needed to add one that's in the desert that's decent, and this one is. And before you ask, yes, that's a real name. It was changed on a dare from a radio show back in the 1950s, and it just kind of stuck. But don't let the weird name fool you. Truth or Consequences, or TRC if you want to sound like a local, is a quirky desert town full of hot springs, art galleries, and some of the most affordable living you'll find west of the Mississippi. The climate is dry, the sunsets are alien level beautiful, and the town has a weird, wonderful charm. You'll find old school diners, funky murals, and a community that embraces the offbeat vibe. Want to soak in the natural hot springs under the stars? That's like Tuesday in TRC. It's also one of the most budget-friendly towns on this list. Housing is cheap, property taxes are low, and your money stretches here. If you want a retirement that's peaceful, a little weird, and full of personality, this could be one of your best options. The cost of living in Truth or Consequences is 22% below the national average, and the average home value here, $155,000. That is not bad. And I should mention that most of the time when people think New Mexico, they think it's got some crime issues, which most of New Mexico does. This one, their total crime rate is 3% above the national average. I always got to say this because people go, it's 3% above. Yeah, there's also cities that have crime rates that are 400% above the national average. So 3% is nothing. That's actually fairly safe. Number 3, Coos Bay, Oregon. Portland, Oregon always gets the attention whenever you're talking about Oregon, but Coos Bay has managed to stay under the radar. It's a port town with coastal views, forest trails, and low-key atmosphere that feels tailor-made for a peaceful retirement. If you want a beachside living without the California chaos and price tag, Coos Bay should be on your radar. Yes, it rains. It's Oregon. You learn to live with it and you get used to it. I have. In return for all that rain, you get green hills, fresh seafood, and air so clean that it feels like it should be bottled. Yes, I know the seafood has nothing to do with the rain, but still. There's fishing, boating, hiking, and plenty of reasons to stay active without needing a gym membership. Housing is still affordable compared to other coastal towns, and the community here is relaxed and unpretentious. Think retired lumberjack energy mixed with sea captain vibes. Coos Bay is where you go to trade in stress for salt air. It is also where Steve Prefontaine is from. If you know anything about Nikes, you know who Steve Prefontaine is. Now, this one is a little more expensive than some of the other ones, and it's got a little crime, but it's on the coast, so it gets some added points for that. The cost of living here is only 3% below the national average, and the average home value is $329,000. Right now, they have homes on the water in the bay part, not out by the ocean, that are going for around $500,000. The other good news for this place, it's really far away from Portland. I mean, it's in the lower third of the state. Just got a little crime. Number 2, Natchitoches, Louisiana. Pronounced Natchitoches, because Louisiana doesn't believe in phonics. This is the oldest permanent settlement in the Louisiana Purchase, and it feels like it hasn't aged a day. In the best possible way. Brick streets, Creole architecture, and the slow southern pace that makes Natchitoches an ideal spot for retirees who like charm with their coffee. The town is big on tradition. From the world-famous Christmas lights to meat pies, and yes, they are legendary, there's always something going on without being overwhelmed. Healthcare here is solid, real estate is affordable, and it sits right on the Cane River, offering the kind of waterfront living that doesn't cost a fortune. If you want to retire somewhere with culture, history, and enough southern hospitality to warm your cynical heart, this is it. Just prepare to gain a few pounds, because you'll be eating well here. It isn't too often we can make a video with a really nice Louisiana town. Most of them are a nightmare. I mean, plenty of history, plenty of culture. It's just they got crime and poverty issues everywhere in the state. This is a great place to live in Louisiana. They have a little crime, but it's nothing major, about 26% above the national average, which is not horrible. They don't have many jobs, so it's good to be retired here. If you want to move here, your cost of living is 9% below the national average, and the average home value here is $186,000. Not expensive at all. All right, before we get to number 1, if you have not subscribed to this channel, we would really love it if you did. And in the comment section, let us know which place on this list you'd move to. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, St. Mary's, Georgia. You want waterfront charm without Florida price tags? Say hello to St. Mary's, Georgia, a sleepy coastal town that practically whispers, "Retire here and never look back." St. Mary's is tucked in the southeastern corner of the state, just across the water from Cumberland Island, and right near the Florida border, minus all the Florida chaos. St. Mary's has everything retirees love: a historic downtown with oak trees and Spanish moss, a slow pace of life, and a cost of living that doesn't make your pension scream in terror. The waterfront is peaceful, not overrun with chain restaurants or cruise ship crowds, and if you're into kayaking, fishing, or just pretending to be active while you're sipping sweet tea on your porch, this is your spot. Healthcare covered. Jacksonville is just 45 minutes away with all the big city services you could need. Real estate, it's affordable, especially compared to anything else remotely near the coast. And the vibe? Pure southern hospitality with a breeze off the water. St. Mary's is the kind of place where your stress level drops driving into town. And that's exactly what retirement should be. Their crime rate is 39% below the national average. Employment sometimes a little bit higher than the national average, so if you're looking to get a part-time job, it might be there, might not, so retirement is ideal for this location. The cost of living in St. Mary's is 13% below the national average, and the average home value here is $309,000. That is not bad. Now this one was just done about 5 months ago, and it's titled Best States to Retire on a Budget. Now this one did really good as far as views go. A lot of people like this one. They also asked me to do a follow-up on it, and I haven't gotten around to it. Maybe eventually I will. But here's the one everyone liked. Today we're doing a requested video, and this one has been requested a bunch. The best states to retire on a budget. I think most people that are retiring on some sort of budget, but I think a lot of people would like to know where they could live on the cheap without having to leave the country in retirement. The easiest answer to that is obviously, what are the cheapest states? Mississippi, Alabama, West Virginia, and Arkansas. Each has a low cost of living and affordable real estate and rent prices. We dug a little deeper. For this list, we looked at the 20 cheapest states, and then we looked at the taxes in each. The percentage of the people over 60, because that's usually a good indicator that it's a great place to retire if a bunch of people are over the age of 60, and we looked at the average rent prices. Now, it's hard to give rent medians for an entire state. It's obviously going to vary quite a bit depending on where you are in a state. So we went by how much lower than the national average their overall rent prices are. It's not the most accurate way to look at it, but it gives you an idea. So that's what we're doing today. Get it? Got it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 10, Alabama. Alabama falls into a category that a few other southern states fall into. It's filled with retirees that didn't want to do Florida, or they did Florida for a while and changed their mind. They got a name for it in South Carolina. They're called halfbacks. They moved down from, let's say, New York and moved halfway back. It's technically not halfway back, it's just a name. Alabama is the first state that gets the retiree quality of life over 80 score, so that's good. Alabama has a low cost of living, including affordable housing, healthcare costs, and their rent is 9% below the national average. That's not bad. 19.1% of the population is over the age of 60. That's a good number considering the national average is a little over 18%. It's like 18.1, 18.3, depending on what study you look at. Alabama is considered the second lowest for cost of living in the nation. Now, when I give you these tax numbers, keep in mind they change all the time. As you'll see later on in this list, some of them are changing next year. The Social Security is not taxable in Alabama, either are pensions. 401ks and IRA distributions are partially taxable. The retiree quality of life in Alabama is 83. Number 9, Tennessee. Yeah, Tennessee's kind of got a weird thing going on. They have a lot of young people moving there. Most of that has to do with the music scene and other things. But retirees like Tennessee as well. Tennessee is definitely a tax-friendly state for retirees and really for everyone. It has no state income tax on wages and a relatively low overall tax burden. Property taxes aren't really bad in Tennessee, so it's definitely a good place to live on the cheap. The only reason they're not lower on the list is they have some cities that have some crime, obviously Memphis being the biggest one. But a good amount of their small towns have more than their fair share of crime as well. Is it horrible? No. Is it something you should, just be aware of? Absolutely. Tennessee also comes up really short when it comes to golf courses. They don't have that many. In 2022, they only had 287 golf courses. California almost has 1,100. Texas has almost 900. Florida has quite a few, but I couldn't get an accurate number. I'm sure some of you are like, why do golf courses matter? It matters a lot to a lot of retirees. There's a handful of things retirees really like on average: golf, fishing, gardening, and early bird specials. 21.7% of Tennessee's population is over the age of 60. Their rent is 7% below the national average. And here's the tax numbers. Social Security, not taxable. Pension, not taxable. 401k and IRA distributions, not taxable. That's good. Their retiree quality of life score is 83. Number 8, Arkansas. Arkansas is one of these states that attract people with their cost of living. I mean, there's a lot of reasons not to move to Arkansas. Cost of living ain't one of them. They have low cost of living, affordable housing, utilities, and healthcare expenses, making it a very attractive choice for retirees on a budget. Arkansas can get some weather, but it is a beautiful state. It's called the natural state. If you are a retiree that likes to fish, this is a great choice. If you like to garden, again, great choice. You just have to explain to your friends you live in Arkansas. Arkansas, though, is one of those states where you don't think a lot of retirees are going to be there, but they're there. 20.2% of Arkansas's population is over the age of 60. They would also be higher up on this list, number 3 or 4, but they have a lot of retirees that live in poverty. And unless you're in the northwest corner of the state and you're a retiree that wants to pick up a part-time job, you're going to struggle to find a part-time job anywhere in the state outside of the northwest corner. Let's take a look at the numbers. Social Security in Arkansas is not taxed. Pensions are taxed taxable. Some types of pensions qualify for an exemption of up to $2,500 though, so that's nice. IRAs and 401ks are taxable. Now here's where they really get on the list. Rent in Arkansas is about 17% below the national average. That is not bad. The outdoors, the fishing, the cheap rent, and they have plenty of programs for retirees in this state. And they also get a quality of life score for retirees of 85. Number 7, Mississippi. Mississippi? Yeah, it's not too often they show up on a positive list, and this is definitely positive. They made number 7 on a place you should move. Sure, you have to be retired, but they're a great fit if that's your situation. If you do move to Mississippi for retirement or for anything, stay well away from Jackson, Mississippi, the state capital. I would try and get as close to the Gulf as you could. Bay St. Louis, Gulfport, Biloxi, even Moss Point. I've even heard Hattiesburg is getting a little bit better. Hattiesburg, actually, they've got a really low cost of living. They got plenty of things to do. Their commute scores are down. Their healthcare scores are up. Their housing is affordable. They just got some crime and unemployment. So if you're retired, stay out of the bad neighborhoods and move to Hattiesburg, Mississippi. You'll probably be able to live quite comfortably. But 20.1% of Mississippi's population is over the age of 60. Rent is 16% below the national average. Social Security, not taxed. Pensions, not taxed. 401k and IRA, not taxed. The retiree quality of life score in Mississippi is 86. Number 6, Georgia. The Peach State isn't the cheapest place to live, but it still offers a reasonable cost of living and a moderate tax environment. What really gets them on this list is they have a lot of things for retirees to do, a lot of different programs, especially if you're a veteran. They have plenty of veteran healthcare. All in all, it's a really good place for retirees in general. Plenty of golf, plenty of gardening, plenty of fishing. Stay out of Columbus, Georgia. The place sucks. And they got nice weather. 18.8% of the population is over the age of 60 in Georgia. Their rent is 1% below the national average. Their Social Security is not taxed. Pensions are partially taxed. 401k, IRA, again, partially taxed. The retiree quality of life here is 88. That's a good score. Number 5, Kentucky. Kentucky's got solid healthcare, especially for the retired crowd. They get a little cold, and there's a lot of places in this state that aren't the best, but it's not a terrible place to retire, especially when you look at the cost of living. They got low housing costs, tax-friendly environment. Definitely a place you could move to stretch your budget. If you get outside the cities, be prepared to see things like a guy driving a tractor down the road with a drink in his hand. That's not unusual in Kentucky. You know what else isn't unusual in Kentucky? Swiping right on a second cousin. But Kentucky definitely is a beautiful state, and if you like to be in nature, it's not a bad choice, especially since it's so affordable. 19.9% of the population is over the age of 60. Now their rent is great too, 11% below the national average. And they're okay when it comes to your retirement money. Social Security is not taxable. Pension, a little bit taxed. 401k, IRA, taxable. Neither of those they tax much. The numbers change, and they're about to change again, so retiree quality of life in Kentucky is 88. Number 4, Missouri. Missouri's kind of weird. It's like Mississippi. It rarely shows up on a list unless it's negative, but then again, it's also like Kentucky. It just rarely shows up on lists. The good news is, when it's always shown up on negative lists, it's going to be cheap, and it is definitely cheap for everyone, not just retirees. Missouri offers a low cost of living, affordable housing, good healthcare, and transportation expenses are pretty low too. Their car insurance is one of the lowest in the nation, on average. I always have to throw on average in there, or I'll have someone going, mine's kind of high, what are you talking about? Well, I wasn't making the video for you, pal. I was talking about averages. I actually emailed someone back and told them that about, I forget the subject. I didn't make the video for you. I was talking about averages, for everyone. And I swear he emailed back, kind of sounded like you were just talking to me. It's like, okay, are we missing some medication today, pal? Now, Missouri is a great state to be outside. They've got amazing things to do outside. You got the Lake of the Ozarks, Branson, Missouri. People forget there is a state called Missouri sometimes, but it's got some pretty cool stuff to do, especially if you like to be outdoors, you like to fish, things of that nature. 20.2% of Missouri's population is over the age of 60. Their rent is also 11% below the national average. Not bad, Missouri. Now, here's where it gets a little weird. Social Security is partially taxable. Pension is partially taxable. 401k and IRA are taxable. Now, next year, January 1st, I believe, Social Security is no longer taxed. Pension is no longer taxed. 401k and IRA are going down a little bit in their taxation. So they're definitely moving in the right direction. The quality of life for retirees in Missouri is 89. I should mention anything over 75 is decent. Anything over 80 is really good. Number 3, Arizona. Arizona is a great place to retire. Everyone knows that. I mean, when people think about retirement, they think of Florida and Arizona, and if they got a bunch of money, they think about Hawaii. If you like warm weather and hate to garden anything but cactus, Arizona is a great place to retire. If you've never lived in Arizona, let's say you're moving from the East Coast, you decide to move there, would the locals tell you things like, make sure you don't have vinyl seats and things of that nature? Listen to them. If you leave your car out in the sun for 10 minutes in Arizona, you sit down in that seat with shorts on, you're going to need a skin graft. There was a video compilation a few years back of a guy at Walmart took all the security camera from the parking lot in Arizona. I think it was Walmart. Anyway, he made a compilation of people sitting in their car and then jumping out really quick as soon as they sat down on that seat that you could probably cook eggs on. Now, Arizona isn't the most expensive, but it's definitely not the cheapest. And that's why a lot of retirees move there. This one really gets on the list because it has a lot of things to do, and they do have some regions that are affordable. Just got to look for them. If we get a little more deeper into this subject, like if I do cities, I'll definitely point some places out in Arizona. The smaller towns definitely are, I wouldn't say half price compared to, let's say, downtown Phoenix or something like that, but they are a lot more affordable. 23.1% of Arizona's population is over the age of 60. Their rent is 6% above the national average. So that does suck, but their Social Security is not taxable. Their 401k IRA is kind of taxable, and their pensions are taxable, but they have an exemption of up to $2,500. So this one is sort of out of the realm of what this video was about, but it has got other things, and in certain areas, it is definitely affordable. The retiree quality of life in Arizona is 90. Number 2, Iowa. Iowa was made for retirees. I mean, most of the people start acting like retirees in their 30s. There's a lot of people staying home to watch Wheel of Fortune in Iowa. Iowa is definitely an affordable state. They're ranked 6th in the nation for affordability overall. I mean, housing, cost of living, all that good stuff. Their utilities are low. They have decent healthcare. The downside is it's usually going to be in the bigger cities, going to have the best stuff. There's not many of those in Iowa. They definitely have quality healthcare. Sometimes if you move to a small town, you got a little bit of a drive to see a specialist or something like that. And if you're like me and you love to go to the proctologist, this can be a little bit of a hassle. I almost said pain in the ass there. 23% of Iowa's population is over the age of 60. Interesting fact here though. I don't know what's going on with the 55-year-olds, but if you include 55 and up to this, the number is 33%. So 10% of the population seems to be between 55 and 60. It's two different studies. I don't know how accurate the second one was, but I thought that was interesting. That would be a bunch of people right around the middle of the Cold War. They probably had a nuclear scare and everyone got pregnant for a couple of years and there's half the population. The rent in Iowa is 13% below the national average. Social Security is not taxable. Pension, not taxable. And guess what? 401k, IRA, not taxable. The retiree quality of life in Iowa is 92. And number 1, South Carolina. South Carolina is a great state. I'm starting to like it more and more all the time. If you wanted to retire someplace, you're probably going to think Florida, but a lot of people, like I said earlier, go down to Florida, they don't like it, and they go halfway back to New York, which is South Carolina. Again, it's not halfway, but you get the idea. That's what they call them, halfbacks. South Carolina offers a lower cost of living than many other states. It's got affordable housing options, lower taxes, and reasonable healthcare costs. It's also got a pleasant climate and numerous recreational opportunities. Past Florida, this is probably the best state for active seniors, I would say. Plenty of golf. They got lawn bowling. Great place for gardening. They got a wonderful coastline. Just an all-around beautiful state. It's not the cheapest on this list, but it's not that bad. Like any coastal state, the closer you get to the ocean, the more expensive it's going to be. If you go inland 3 or 4 miles, it's affordable. It definitely is. If you could swing the Charleston area, absolutely move there. Bluffton is great too. Greenville is not bad. And almost every
Every city has a few golf courses. James Island, which is in Charleston, I think they have 3 golf courses, 2 or 3. Charleston is one of those cities that I spend a lot of time on Zillow looking at homes there. I love Charleston. It's just this laid back, coastal town with a lot of history. I don't know. One of these days I got to go there and just spend a month living in Charleston. But if you move to Charleston for retirement or all of South Carolina, this is what you got to look forward to. 21.5% of their population is over the age of 60. Rent is overall 2% below the national average. If you move to Charleston, it's closer to 16% above. Social Security is not taxable. Pension is partially taxable. 401k IRAs partially taxable. And they do have a state income tax. Now, I bring this up because I did a video recently where I mentioned a state, South Dakota, didn't have a state income tax, which they don't. I had like 10 comments from people going, South Carolina doesn't have a state income tax. I looked it up. They definitely do. The retiree quality of life score for South Carolina is 94. It is an affordable state, not a whole bunch of crime, great weather, things to do. They get a 94.
All right, here's our last one. It is called The Worst States to Retire in 2024. These states still hold true.
Welcome back to the world according to Briggs, and a video that should be very important to 76% of my viewers. That's the percentage of my audience that is over the age of 30. When you're 30 and under, which is about 24% of my viewers, retirement isn't a big concern. You still think life is magical and you'll never get old. I don't want to ruin that fantasy for you, so I won't tell you about CPAP machines, beer bellies, and hot flashes. Thinking that you will have abs and be able to kill it at the beach in a bikini into your 60s, that's a great way to be. It's unrealistic, but it's a wonderful dream. Right now, the United States is in the middle of having the largest portion of our population in or around retirement age. In 2024, we will see the greatest surge of Americans turning 65. Right now, it's about 10,000 people per day hit age 65. In 2025, it's estimated to go up to 12,000. In 1980, the largest number of baby boomers were in the labor market. The oldest boomers had entered the labor force in 1964. For the boomers, 60% of private sector workers relied on the protected lifetime income from a pension plan as comparison to 4% in 2020. So more than ever, planning and saving for your future is almost a life or death situation. Today we're looking at one aspect of the biggest decision you make in retirement, where you shouldn't retire. Not all states are created equally when it comes to living out your golden years. So today we're looking at the worst states to retire in 2024 by looking at things like cost of living, crime rate, life expectancy, and healthcare and healthcare costs. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 10, Kentucky. Other than friendly people that enjoy a stiff drink, basketball, horses, and $7 trillion worth of gold, there aren't a lot of good things you could say about Kentucky. Now, this is the part of the video where you stop it and read or leave a comment. It should be entertaining. While we wait, here's a picture of my pig after she got into some arts and crafts. Now, really, Kentucky isn't a terrible state. The people are great and the land is beautiful, so it's a decent place to retire, at least until you hear why you shouldn't. Overall, Kentucky doesn't have a high cost of living. That is until you get to their healthcare. Their healthcare is a little expensive. Their utilities are a little above average, but you get a break when it comes to food, beverages, gas, things like that. According to Wallet Hub, they're ranked 38th in the nation for retired taxpayer ranking. Kentucky's also not considered an elderly-friendly labor market. They have a lot of jobs, but they have more than their fair share of jobs that are on the lower end of the pay scale, if you know what I mean. A lot of retirees like to have a part-time job or just a job to supplement their income. Far too many are right around that minimum wage area. It's also a very unhealthy state with a really low life expectancy. Here's the numbers. The cost of living in Kentucky is 1% lower than the national average. Healthcare costs is 20% higher, and their healthcare access is considered below average, meaning it's harder to get in to see a doctor than you probably wanna. Life expectancy in Kentucky is one of the worst in the nation, 73.5 years. The longest life expectancy in the United States, by the way, is Hawaii, 80.7 years. Now, when a state or a city or whatever has a really low life expectancy, it kind of tips you off there's a bunch of other problems going on in this state or city or whatever. You know, they got poor air quality, poor water quality. They could have bad roads and losing people very young due to car accidents. That number tells you way more than just a number. But yeah, that's what gets Kentucky on this list: healthcare, affordability, and life expectancy.
Number 7, Mississippi. Yes, this is a negative video, so of course Mississippi is going to be on it. Mississippi is not a good place to retire. The worst part about retiring in Mississippi is when your friends find out they're in Boca and they're in Phoenix, and then they find out you're in chunky Mississippi living the good life. Mississippi has a lot of problems, and that bleeds into retiring there. The state is pretty thick when it comes to poverty. I mean, that's kind of their thing. Wouldn't say they pride themselves on it, but they really do seem to be working at it. Like to maintain the poverty level to what it is. The median household income in Mississippi is about $46,000. It fluctuates obviously, but it's normally about 20 to 24% lower than the national average. That's not a good sign. Like we said earlier, when you got low wages and poverty, you run into all kinds of crime issues. They have crime issues in Mississippi. Actually, their state capital, Jackson, is one of the worst in the nation with a very high violent crime rate. Now, when it comes to cost of living, they're not doing bad. They're 5% lower than the national average. That's to be expected in a place that kind of blows. But what really gets them on this list is their health care. It's not overly expensive. It's a little higher than the national average. Not much, like 2%, but it's really underfunded. And on top of all that, their life expectancy is actually worse than Kentucky. It's 71.9 years. Mississippi and Louisiana are two states that have this really strange stat, or fact, I should say. They have far more people than most states that actually fish for their dinner, not because it's fun, not because it's something to do, it's because they have to. Number 8, Washington State. Yeah, Washington isn't a bad state to live if you got some money. That's their biggest problem. It's expensive to live here, especially since most people that are going to move to Washington are going to move to the western side, and that's where it's obviously the most expensive. You got Seattle, Tacoma, Olympia, you got Vancouver down near Portland. All that's pretty expensive. You can go the east side of the state, but not many people want to move there. But it's affordable, somewhat. They also don't have the greatest weather. It's considered unpredictable at best. If you want to buy real estate in Washington, that's not a good option these days for most retirees. Renting's even brutal. Depends on where you go in the state, but it's normally between 10 and 25% higher than the national average. And if you get downtown Seattle, it's like 80% higher than the national average. Maybe not that bad, but it's up there. So what gets them on the list? It's the cost of living. Cost of living's above average, 12%, and their healthcare costs, 15% above average. Their life expectancy is not a factor here. It's 79.2 years. Number 7, Maryland. Maryland's one of those states we rarely talk about unless Baltimore's in play. Once you get outside of Baltimore, it's a pretty nice place. There's actually some nice places in Baltimore. They're very few, but there are some nice places. The state overall is a pretty nice place to live. You don't mind bad weather and expensive things. And things are expensive in Maryland. The cost of living in Maryland is 17% higher than the national average. Their housing cost is about 24% higher. It varies, obviously, like I said earlier, from where you are in the state, but on average, about 24% higher. And their healthcare is expensive. It's good. It is really good. This is one of those states that has really good healthcare, but it's expensive. It's 20% higher than the national average. But if you live in Maryland, there's a few things you have to deal with other states don't, like avoiding Baltimore. That's something a lot of people in other states don't have to deal with. And you got to deal with their flag. Have you ever seen the Maryland flag? It looks like a graphic artist with split personality got confused while designing a flag and got stuck between a Mexican lucha libre mask and a NASCAR paint scheme. But this is the reason why you don't want to move to Maryland. Cost of living is 17% above the national average. Their healthcare cost is 20% above the national average. Their life expectancy isn't horrible, but it's 76.8 years. Number 6, Rhode Island. One of the biggest reasons you don't want to move to Rhode Island is none of your friends know where it is. That is a big problem. Unless you're from Rhode Island or let's say another New England state, most people don't know where it is. And if you're older, while you're looking at it on that paper map you have, you're pulling out a magnifying glass because it is small. The state is very small and the main city there, Providence, takes up most of the state. So most of the state has some crime. It's not terrible, but it's not great. Rhode Island's real estate's pretty expensive and their cost of living is really expensive. Like all of New England, and I guess most northeastern states, Rhode Island can see some pretty bad weather during the winter. Summers are really nice, but their winters can get pretty harsh. The cost of living in Rhode Island is 22% above the national average. Their healthcare is really good, but it's also really expensive, being 25% above the national average. Now, their life expectancy, not bad at all, Rhode Island, 78.2 years.
Number 5, New York. The Empire State comes in number 5. I thought they would have been a little bit higher because New York is a very expensive state, mainly because it has New York City in it, and New York City is insanely expensive. Overall, the state has a pretty good crime rate. I mean, you got Buffalo, Rochester, and New York City, which New York City's not as bad. Buffalo's horrible right now. So that drives the whole state's crime rate up pretty high. Overall, the state's violent crime rate is 15% higher than the national average. Buffalo's violent crime rate is 143% higher than the national average. That's pretty high. Not as bad as Detroit and some of the other ones. Those get into the 350 and 400% above. But 143% above the national average is nothing to sneeze at. Again, New York State's not a great place to retire because of, the weather. That's why so many people in Florida right now are from New York. Let's look at the stats. The cost of living in New York is 27% above the national average. Their healthcare is good, but it is 30% above the national average. It's one thing if it's really good and really accessible and it's high price. Most people can live with that. But we have some states in this country where it's overly expensive and it's horrible. And when I say horrible, I'm never talking about the doctors or anything like that. They usually do an outstanding job. It's access. That's the biggest problem with healthcare. Do they have enough doctors? Do they have enough hospitals and clinics to get the people appointments that they want? That's where the problem lies. And that's how states, cities, or whatever get a bad grade for their healthcare. But the life expectancy in New York State is 77.2. That's respectable. Number 4, Louisiana. Louisiana is where hope goes to die. I've been to Louisiana several times in my life. Most recently, I was there last January. Every time I've gone, I'm like, why do people get so excited about this state? Especially New Orleans. I don't get that one at all. It's a lot of fun with a lot of history and great food, but it's a dirty city. I mean, everywhere I've gone in the state, the obvious, it's swampy. So you get that swamp vibe because of the humidity and just that smell. The cities are dirty, and then the small towns are even more dirty. And then for some reason, every time I visit Louisiana, whether I meant to go or not, I end up on Bourbon Street with a ridiculously large drink in my hand, wondering, why is everyone here? What's the fascination? And now I bring myself to this question: why would anyone retire here? Doesn't make sense to me. Some people do, but they shouldn't. Louisiana is a state that is plagued with poverty, which gives them 1 in the plus column. It's actually one of the cheapest states to live in. 21% below the national average is their cost of living. That's great. The healthcare system is not great. It's underfunded. It's well underfunded, as they put it. The life expectancy in Louisiana is 73.1 years. There's this strange thing about Louisiana. They have, by a large margin, every single year, the most workplace deaths. Number 3, Oregon. And here we have my home state, well, my current home state. I'm from California originally, but now I'm in Oregon. It used to be a great place to retire and just live. They had good jobs, and now they don't. Used to be cheap, now it's not. And of course, everyone blames the Californians for the high prices and the high real estate prices. That does play a part in it, and I'm sure there's a lot of Oregonians right now getting ready to type out some comment about how Californians ruined the state, made it expensive, and we should make a law they can't move here anymore. I always want to remind people that want to leave that comment, for around 170 years, people were flooding into California from every state: Montana, Indiana, New York, Texas, even Oregon and Washington. People came down to California for a better life. Now it's kind of reversed, and these people are like, this is unbelievable. Look at all the movie stars that made it big. This is just one example. How many of them came from Hollywood? Go back in the history of Hollywood. Look how many actually came from California. Maybe 10%. Anyway, Oregon's not really a great place to retire right now. Portland's a mess. It's getting better, but it's got a long ways to go. It's expensive. The cost of living in Oregon is actually 12% higher than the national average right now. The healthcare cost, that's pretty high. That's 15% above the national average. We have weather that's not really what retirees are looking for. My dad hates it. He's retired. He likes to golf. I think he spent one winter up here with us and was like, that's it, I moved back to California. Anyway, one good thing is the life expectancy in Oregon is 78.8 years. Number 2, Arkansas. Arkansas, like Mississippi, rarely shows up anymore on anything that has something to do with positivity. Arkansas is a beautiful state as far as natural beauty. When you look at the cities, not so much. 2 of their biggest cities, Pine Bluff's not that big, but Little Rock definitely is. Those are 2 places that should be avoided at all costs. Poverty, crime. The median household income in Arkansas is $46,000. That's 20% below the national average. Like I've said before, poverty just just isn't poverty by itself. Poverty comes with a lot of other problems. And Arkansas has those problems. Property crime, violent crime, and a high rate of incarceration. The good news is their cost of living is pretty low. I mean, that's to be expected. When people can't afford to pay for things, the price goes down. Arkansas has a cost of living that's 20% below the national average, and their healthcare is considered to be severely underfunded, but it is cheap. Their life expectancy is 73.8 years. All right, before we get to number 1, if you got time after this video, there's always a suggested video. I don't do sponsored videos, so that really helps out the channel and makes it so I don't need to do sponsored videos. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, New Jersey. New Jersey is a very expensive state. It's a beautiful state outside of its major cities like Trenton and Atlantic City, Newark. The rural areas are really nice, but it is heavily taxed and it's just a state that is expensive to live in. I mean, their real estate prices are high, their cost of living is high, their healthcare costs are outrageous. And when you look at the cities, they're definitely not places you want to live. They got some pretty high violent crime rates there too. 15% above the national average, with a few cities like Trenton, they're like 80% above the national average. You got Camden, which is usually around 160% above the national average. If you want to retire here, make sure it's in a rural area. Make sure you got some coin. The cost of living in New Jersey is 22% above the national average. Their healthcare costs are 25% above the national average. The good news is their life expectancy, 77.5 years. That's not bad, New Jersey. One of the biggest problems about living in New Jersey is people making Tony Soprano jokes. I'm sure those got old a long time ago.
All right, that's today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you stuck till right now. If you did, leave me a message in the comments section that says, I stuck around, and I'll give you a special prize on one of our live streams. All right, everyone. Have a great day. Be nice to each other. Retirement is supposed to be the golden years, but with inflation and housing costs, it can end up being a life that evolves around early bird specials or soup, or as my uncle used to call it, the aluminum foil years. Don't worry though, you don't have to live in a cardboard box or move in with your adult children if you follow the new rules for retirement savings and move. Saving during retirement is just as important as saving before retirement. Here's a top 10 list of dream places for affordable retirement. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 10, Boise, Idaho. Yes, Boise. Before you roll your eyes at the idea of Idaho, hear me out. This town is way cooler than its potato-loving, California-hating reputation suggests. The cost of living here is reasonable, and housing prices, while climbing, are still affordable compared to most West Coast cities. And when you do compare it to most West Coast cities, this is one of the better cities. And if you say, well, it's not a West Coast city, it's not, but it is part of the Pacific Northwest, and a lot of different region maps consider it part of the West Coast states. I don't know why, it's just a thing they do. Boise is where you can enjoy all 4 seasons without hating at least one of them. Summers are warm, winters are, for the most part, mild, and fall and spring are so gorgeous, they almost make you feel bad for everyone stuck in a swampy Florida or some kind of desert climate. Almost. The city is clean, safe, and surprisingly vibrant. Lively. I always throw in vibrant, and I hate the word, and then as soon as I read it out loud, I'm all, why do I keep using that? Anyway, with farmers markets, outdoor concerts, and miles of greenbelt trails for biking and walking, it's a great place to live. Plus, Idaho taxes Social Security benefits at a really low rate, which means your retirement checks will stretch far enough to keep you into craft beer and farm fresh produce. Boise is not just about potatoes. It's about living your best budget-friendly life. Honestly, I know that sounds like a commercial, but it's the truth. Now, their cost of living is surprisingly low, and I say that because it is a very nice city. It's beautiful, and people love this city, and it's still reasonable. It's only 6% above the national average, which, considering you have places like Los Angeles where it's 28% and San Francisco where it's 137% above the national average, Boise is downright affordable, especially for a West Coast city, like I said. All their other stats are great. They're all graded A's and B's. Not a bad place to live. The average home value in Boise, Idaho is $438,000, which is about $20,000 less than the national average. The cost of living in Boise, Idaho is 6% above the national average. I know that's a little high because we're looking for affordable, but this place is so nice, it's worth that. It's still lower than the national average overall. Number 9, Oxford, Mississippi. It is very rare we put anything Mississippi in a positive list. It just doesn't have that many things. Oxford isn't just for literature nerds that are obsessed with William Faulkner. It's a surprisingly affordable and charming place to retire, with housing costs well below the national average and a cost of living so low you think they made a mistake on your bills. This southern college town offers a pretty decent lifestyle on a budget. The town's literary and artistic feel blends with the southern hospitality, creating a unique atmosphere. Stroll along the historic square where you'll find bookstores, cafes, and restaurants that somehow manage to be trendy and affordable. And thanks to the University of Mississippi, or Ole Miss, you'll have access to cultural events, sports, and maybe even a chance to audit classes just for fun. Oxford also hosts festivals galore, from art fairs to the Oxford Film Festival. So there's always something for you to do. It's a small town with a lot of charm and enough quirks to keep it interesting. The best part? Mississippi has one of the lowest tax burdens in the country, making your retirement funds stretch a little bit further. The cost of living in Oxford, Mississippi is 14% below the national average, and the average home value is about $328,000. Number 8, Bella Vista, Arkansas. Yep, you heard me right, Arkansas. Like Mississippi, Arkansas rarely shows up on positive lists, unless of course we're talking about the northwestern section of the state, which Bella Vista, Arkansas is in. Yes, Bella Vista, Arkansas is so retirement friendly, it's practically screaming your name. Homes here are a steal compared to the national average, and the cost of living is almost suspiciously low. Like, how is this even real low? Bella Vista is a planned community that was basically built for retirees who love the good life. There are 7 lakes, countless golf courses, hiking trails, and more clubs than you'll have time to join. It's the kind of place where your biggest stressor is deciding on whether to golf or take a Viagra on any given Tuesday. Oh, and don't worry about healthcare. There are plenty of clinics and hospitals nearby, and if you're concerned about entertainment, you can always take a quick trip to nearby Bentonville to pretend you're sophisticated while visiting the Crystal Bridge Museum of American Art. Bella Vista is where relaxation meets affordability, and honestly, who wouldn't want to live here? Arkansas, for all its problems, is a beautiful state. They just have sections that are terribly undereducated, terribly poor, and 2 of the scariest cities in the country. That's Pine Bluff and, of course, Little Rock. The cost of living in Bella Vista is 8% below the national average, and the average home here is about $333,000. Number 7, Homosassa, Florida. Yes, Florida makes the list. Shocker, retirement? Florida? Who ever heard of such a thing? But Homosassa isn't your typical retiree hotspot like Miami or Naples or Sarasota Springs, where the prices are as high as the humidity. Homosassa is charming, affordable, and just strange enough to make you forget you're in Florida. I mean, that is until you see a manatee floating by. The housing market here is ridiculously reasonable, and there's no state income tax, which is beautiful. Want a waterfront home? You can actually afford one without having to rob a bank or start a Ponzi scheme. Plus, Homosassa Springs Wildlife State Park is nearby, and you can spend your afternoons watching manatees instead of doom scrolling the news. The community here is tight-knit and friendly. Think more potluck dinners and fewer HOA horror stories, which I'm going to make a video on HOA horror stories that I've read over the years. These things are ridiculous. And if you're a seafood fan, you'll be in heaven here. Homosassa's fishing scene is top-notch, meaning you can catch your dinner and still have money left over for dessert. And wine, definitely. The cost of living in Homosassa Springs is 17% below the national average, and the average home value here is only $319,000. That is not bad. Number 6, Hot Springs Village, Arkansas. Arkansas might not be the first place you think of for retirement, but hear me out. Hot Springs Village, Arkansas is an affordable gym where you can buy a home for what feels like pocket change compared to coastal cities. Who needs a mansion in Malibu when you can have a spacious home in Arkansas and still afford dinner out every single night? I saw a promo video for this place, and they say it is the largest gated community in the country. They have 11 lakes where you could fish on. They have 9 golf courses. So you could have a lakefront property here or a golf front property, whichever you want. You can even have one in the mountains. They've got mountains here. This community is nestled in the Ouachita Mountains, so it's like living in a national park without tourists asking where's Starbucks. There are hiking trails, lakes, fishing, boating, and you guessed it, actual hot springs. It's basically nature's spa treatment on a budget. They're also really big on community events here. That's kind of a thing in the South. in the Midwest, really. You won't find it as much out west, but you definitely will in Hot Springs Village, Arkansas. Who says retirees can't party? I mean, as long as the party's over by 9. The cost of living in Hot Springs Village, Arkansas is 3% lower than the national average, and the average home value is about $296,000. That is not bad. Number 5, Green Valley, Arizona. If you love the desert and the idea of never shoveling snow again, Green Valley might be your oasis. Housing is affordable with the average home price sitting comfortably below the national median. Plus, you don't need a humidifier because the air is already dry enough to turn grapes into raisins overnight. Green Valley is a retiree's dream because it's basically designed for you. The town is filled with age-restricted communities, meaning no noisy kids zipping around on skateboards or neighbors throwing ragers till 2 a.m. Instead, you get pickleball courts, golf courses, and book clubs galore. The cherry on top, Arizona doesn't tax your Social Security income. Yep, you heard that right. You can stretch that monthly check further without Uncle Sam going up your colon looking for change. Just remember, hydrate. It's a dry heat, but heat nonetheless. The cost of living is 1% below the national average, and the average home value is about $295,000. Number 4, Pueblo, Colorado. If you've always dreamed about retiring in Colorado, but balked at the idea of Aspen's prices, Pueblo might be the perfect alternative. Maybe not, but it's a lot cheaper. Nestled along the Arkansas River, this affordable gem offers homes at a price that won't make you cry into your 401k. The cost of living here is lower than the national average, meaning that you can actually afford to enjoy those mountain views. Pueblo is famous for its chili peppers, and if you're not into spicy foods, you'll be after you live here for a while. It's just one of those things that kind of grows on you. The city hosts the annual Chili and Frijoles Festival, where you can eat your way through local flavors and pretend the heat doesn't really make your eyes water. It's something like pollen or something. With over 300 days of sunshine, Pueblo is an outdoor lover's paradise, whether you're fishing on Lake Pueblo State Park or biking along the Arkansas River Trail. You'll have plenty of ways to stay active, and unlike other Colorado hotspots, Pueblo's affordability means you can actually afford to relax without worrying about a second mortgage. The cost of living in Pueblo, Colorado is 6% below the national average, and the average home value here is $289,000. Not bad. Number 3, Morganton, North Carolina. Nestled in the Blue Ridge Mountains, Morganton offers all the beauty of a mountain town without that Aspen, Colorado price tag. Honestly, if you want to be shocked and appalled, go to Zillow and type in Aspen, Colorado. Look at the prices of the homes here. They're so expensive, it's almost like saying, you know what, if you're blue collar, please don't even visit this town. But Morganton is a beautiful mountain town that's a fraction of the price of some of these mountain towns out in Colorado. Morganton, which I've called Morgantown 3 different times already, and I've had to delete it. Morganton has that small town charm retirees love, with friendly neighbors, a historic downtown, and local wineries for those who think retirement should come with a wine glass permanently attached to their hand. The town also has a surprisingly good food scene. Think farm-to-table restaurants without the pretentious vibe. If you're into the outdoors, you could hike, bike, or just sit on a bench and pretend you like to hike. And don't forget Lake James, perfect for boating, fishing, or just gazing while congratulating yourself on not retiring someplace boring. The cost of living in Morganton is 6% lower than the national average, and the average home value is about $250,000. Not bad. Number 2, Kingsport, Tennessee. Kingsport might not be the most glamorous place to retire, but who cares when it's this affordable? Located in the scenic Appalachian Highlands, this Tennessee town boasts housing costs that are laughably low and a cost of living that feels like you've stepped back in time in a good way, not like back to your freshman year in high school when you awkwardly try and convince a girl into the backseat of your Volkswagen. And before you do, yes, I had my driver's license my freshman year because I was 16. And that's because nuns thought I was obnoxious and decided to hold me back a year so I could grow up a little bit. Those penguins hated me. Kingsport is perfect for retirees who love that small town charm and still want access to modern amenities. The downtown area is a mix of historic buildings and locally owned shops, and enough restaurants to keep your taste buds entertained for at least a couple years. Plus, Tennessee doesn't tax your Social Security income, so you could stretch out your retirement dollars further than you thought possible. You want to get outdoors? You're close to Bays Mountain Park, where you can hike, picnic, or just sit around and admire other people hiking and picnicking. It's Tennessee, so you know you're going to have friendly neighbors, mild winters, and more community events than you can count, and Kingsport becomes an easy choice for anyone that's on a budget and they still want to retire. The cost of living in Kingsport is 17% lower than the national average, and the average home value is about $241,000. Not bad. And number 1, Abilene, Texas. Abilene, the town where cowboy hats meet affordability. Located in West Texas, Abilene offers low housing prices and a cost of living that feels like a gift from the financial gods. You can actually buy a house here without wondering if you're going to need a side hustle selling homemade candles. What's great about Abilene that it combines small town charm with just enough modern stuff to keep you from losing your mind. There's a surprisingly lively art scene with museums, theaters, and even an annual film festival. Who knew cow towns could be cultured, right? And of course, it's Texas, so there's tons of barbecue. Abilene is the kind of place where you can ride off into the retirement sunset without going broke. Abilene, Texas has a cost of living that's 10% lower than the national average, and the average home value is about $192,000.